Hello, you listening to Talk Spirit Anime Cast. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined here with Chris.
Yo.
Today's episode is our final of our spring 2024 anime season reviews. We have the big heavy hitters in this one. I gave Chris plenty of time. Now we have all the big heavy hitters got to be done. Well, there's one big heavy hitter. There's one that's really popular, but it's not a heavy hitter for me. There's one that's amazing, but nobody's watching it. And then there's one big heavy hitter that people hate. People really don't like. But yes, we have Mushoku Tensei Season 2, Part 2. I wonder if that's the one. Go-Go Loser Ranger, Sound Euphonium Season 3, Appraisal Skill, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Hashira Training Arc or something like that. It's like Season 4 or something like that. I don't know. Yuru Camp Season 3, Tsukimichi Season 2, Duke of Death Season 3, Daily Live Season 5, and Sandland, the animation. It's the podcast of sequels. All the sequels are Dan. But yes, we're at talkingspirit.com, so we can go for all of our links, social media links, ways to get a hold of us, ways to support us. We greatly appreciate everybody that supports the channel. It means a lot to us. But let's get into it. It should be a quick one. I don't know. There's a few in here that I'm probably not going to speak too long on, just because either I'm not like a huge fan of it, or there's just not much to talk about. But we should probably start things off with a banger, just to get out of the way. That way everybody can stop watching and stop listening. They can just like, I got the one that I wanted. Move on. We have a fandom of Mushoku Tensei fans. And
we do.
We've cultivated that.
Huh.
And so I'm trying to space it out as much as possible, because eventually Mushoku Tensei content's going to disappear, and then I'm not going to have anything else to talk about. But no, Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation second season part 2 just completed, and yes, for those that are not aware, it basically follows. Well, I like how I have to do the synopsis. It follows a girl named Roxy, and she was in our current time Japan. At some point, she died, was transported into another world where she met a boy named Rudius, who was a magician. And the magician taught her how to leave the house because she didn't know where the front porch was. So once she figured out where the front porch was, she met a girl named Aisha. And Aisha was this girl that was being bullied in the town, and her mother, Sylphie, told her never to fight back against the bullies. Well, one day, Roxy killed all the bullies, and that's when this big disaster happened. And Rejerd, who was the chief of the town, he was transported to another town that's in another world. And in that other town, not the world,
met Edis?
No, he met Cliff.
Cliff gotcha.
Grimoire.
Cliff Senpai.
Who was like the biggest Satanist ever. Like, this dude loves anything against the church. He's that bad. Anyways. Yes, you don't need the story.
I just was.
This is actually
let's
really
go
good
with
story.
it. Yeah, let's go with it.
Andrew's weird fanfic that he's about to write. The story of how Roxy sent Rejerd into another world where he met the evil Satanist Cliff Grimoire. Anyways, yes, specifically this season, and this is pretty much going to be soft spoilers for people. I don't think we really need to get into the big spoilers, because there's a lot of big spoilers in this season. But the gist of this season is, yes, we're following Rudius. And Rudius has now been married to Sylphie, or at least he's in this season, he's getting married to Sylphie. And it's kind of him moving on with his life. His sister's coming to see him at some point, having a big ordeal with Nanahoshi. And that goes right into receiving a letter in which he has to go off to help his father save his mom. So that's kind of the big key points in the season. And it's going to be very difficult to talk about. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's going to be very difficult to talk. Like, when I did my actual video review of this season, I just said I'm spoiling everything. I'm just going to talk about everything. I'm going to talk about why it needs to exist and why it's so great. But we need to hear your thoughts, Chris. What did you think of the season? You managed to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very happy about that. I was kind of afraid for a little while there. What do you think? Again, anime review.
I believe that I am going to go against the grain, I believe. I think that there's a lot of people who don't like this season, and I think there was some beautifully directed scenes in this season.
You going against the grain?
I'm assuming, because all I hear is that how everybody's always bashing the season 2 people who did season 2. So there will always
be people that hate Mushoku Tensei.
I don't know, but as it stands, I think that there's some of the most beautifully directed scenes in this particular season. From Norn's episode to the baby reveal, the father-son moment, a couple of father-son moments. There was a great scene involving a reveal of certain people and their memories and stuff like that. I think that there was some fantastically directed scenes that were just gorgeous all around. Very moving scenes. I couldn't have been more happy to see those scenes. As far as what you were talking about, as far as things that changed, I don't know. I didn't really notice them, so you're gonna have to help me out on those in particular scenes. If they were badly changed, it didn't seem to affect them for the worse, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I'd be curious if you remember. Well, Chris technically read the web novel. I don't know if he went through my videos doing the light novel in that segment, so maybe there's things that are different there. But yeah, the one significant thing was that the person that pulled the other person was different in that room. That was one of the big ones. Ellen Lace didn't say something to push Rudius towards the end that she said in the light novels anyways. And Rudius didn't reveal something to somebody that was extremely secretive that they did in the light novels. So that was the 3 big things that were changed. Anyways, yeah, people are probably sick of me talking about this because I made a video already, but the podcast listeners don't know. But yeah, the first thing that I kind of point out to people is that obviously with season 2, part 1, I was a little bit concerned about the franchise. I still love the franchise, obviously. I adore the light novel, and I am really enjoying the actual adaptation. But season 2, part 1, core 1, whatever, I was concerned because it seemed like a lot of the directing and the animation was super stale. Like just flat shots of rooms with a bunch of people standing around talking and lips flapping. It had no life, had no passion in it. And so I had a lot of concerns. I still like the stories that were in part 1. Obviously, the big pinnacle point of Rudius as he's alone just before he meets Ellen Lace. I still enjoyed a lot of the stuff in the university arc. A lot of stuff that was cut was kind of sad there, but season 2, part 2, this core, a lot of my hope for the franchise as an adaptation was restored. Okay. Because it looks a lot better. It looks like, there's still kind of stale moments here and there visually or directing wise, but for most part, this core just looked really, really good. I think, yes, directing around Norn's episode was fantastic. Directing around Nanahoshi's episode and her breakdown was fantastic. Obviously, a lot of the later parts with the labyrinth was incredible. And I think the last 3 episodes, I think it's 3 episodes. Yeah, the last 3 episodes were just chef kiss all around. Like I cried so many times watching those last 3 episodes. Just the emotion in every scene was just, it was so thick. Like it was just so thick. I couldn't. And again, this is shocking, I think, for some people because I read this part. I know what happens. Mm-hmm. So like the impact and the shock there is not really there. It's just now hearing the seiyus, like, oh my gosh, can I say, like, yes, Nanahoshi's seiyu, especially for her episode, was incredible, but can I say it? Norn's seiyu, especially in that later part, was like, holy crap, this seiyu nailed it. Like you can hear frustration, you can hear pain, you can hear just so much stuff in her voice, and the scream, like, oh gosh, dang girl, nailed it. Yeah. Yeah, hearing Aisha's little squeak towards the later part there was hurting too. There was just so much good seiyus, or so much good voice acting in this entire core. It's just, those are just the standouts. They all did an incredible job. But no, the storytelling. The thing is here is I truly believe, despite the fact that still remaining one of my favorite storytelling segments of Mushoku Tensei in what has been adapted so far, my favorite story has always been the travel from the Demon Continent. That's just, for some reason, I thought that segment was great. It's just adventure, it's discovery. There's so much growing up that's having to be done. There's so many great points throughout that journey. And yeah, there was a lot of fear going into the university arc for me, even in the novel series, but Euphonium did a good job of kind of skirting it really well. But this is the first point beyond the travel that I think has, so it's like bam, 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 bam. Like it just, it's out of nowhere. It's like you're settled, and then out of nowhere, Euphonium's like, bam, this, bam, this, bam, this. We're not letting it up. You want to take a break? Too bad. We're going to keep throwing it at you. There's so many, like, and it really wasn't until I think the moment that Annalise did the breakdown at the wedding, that was like the first punch. And then it was like, again, Norn, it was Aisha, it was Nanahoshi, it was, which Nanahoshi came before those two, but anyways, and then the Labyrinth. Like those segments right there, like these like 4 or 5 segments that were just like nonstop punches, nonstop character growth, nonstop just significant points for Rudeus's life. And I think the thing that I love so much about it is that if you're at this point not seeing what Refugien was cooking, something's wrong with you. Like, you just give up at this point, because this is really the point in which Rudeus has a massive waking up moment. Like, this wakes him up. Like, this is a grow up and take responsibility. This is a take responsibility moment. And to see that visualized after reading it was like really incredible. Plus, like I said before, just punch you in the gut because you're now seeing it and you're hearing it along with the reading it part.
There's also the aspect of, do you know if there was that scene in the books?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't remember it in the web novel. So I found that one an interesting one, and I wondered if it was more of a the anime original kind of just to, hey, this is what this story is trying to do type moment. But if it was in the actual books, then it might be. That's an interesting scene. I did really like it.
Because the only thing that they changed, like I said, was who pulled who in that room. And like I said, the only other thing that was really added in the anime adaptation was the 2-sword comment. That was the only thing that was completely anime original. If I remember correctly, there might be something else. Oh, the whole scene with Rudeus and somebody else in Rappan at the marketplace, that was original too. That wasn't in the novels. Instead, they had a party about what makes a great man a man, and or what makes a real man by Talhand. The meeting of the mages. They completely removed that. I was like, that's a bummer. I wanted the meeting of the men or the meeting of mages and Talhand. But yeah, just really good. I will admit that like the first couple episodes was kind of a little bit of a question mark for me. Those, like I said, it was still a little bit of rough edges coming into the new season, but like I said, I really do feel like the team behind it, maybe they gave him more time to work with. I've heard a couple whispers here and there that they gave him a lot more time to work with this time around, and that's kind of what has me hopeful for season 3. I really do hope that they take as much time as possible to get into season 3.
I'm so glad that they pre-announced that the 3rd season's coming. I was so glad to see that pop up on that screen.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. I always tell people, it's like, it's never guaranteed that they'll do a full adaptation. They say they want to, but doesn't mean that they don't have to stop. So to see that announcement, like I said, and seeing the pedigree jump up, hopefully it seems like the second core did a lot better for a lot of groups that were pretty crickets about part 1, which doesn't shock me too much. I think there's a lot in season 2 part 1 that most people are kind of snoring over. But this second part, I think, was just absolutely incredible. And it goes without saying, like I said, with my whole entire video talking about this is type of storytelling that I think is incredible because it's so real. Mushoku Tensei has always been a series that excels in showing the dirtiestness of everybody and never hold anything back. Like, Refugien doesn't mince his words. He doesn't make characters into, like, just blank archetypes. He has so much going into the characters. They have flaws, they have weaknesses, they have strengths, they have all these problems they're dealing with, and they make a lot of mistakes. And because so many characters make so many mistakes and they have so many flaws, it makes them more believable. And that nothing shows that more than, I think, this core, and seeing Rudeus make massive mistakes and reflecting on it and realizing the repercussions of it. Seeing characters like Paul, who is literally the biggest dirtbag of a father ever, seeing him actually in action. I mean, we get a hint of it with the first season with, the reuniting with Paul and seeing how just kind of drunk and nasty he is. But then you realize, holy crap, this guy is hurting. Like, this guy is broken. And seeing him come back into the picture and seeing him in action was like, holy crap, dude, this guy is so fantastic. Again, you're rooting for somebody who did something horrible to Lilia, again, cheated on his wife, had a child with the maid, and yes, treated beat the crap out of his son for being happy. Like, this guy is not a good guy. and now you're rooting for him. It shows just how fantastic this writer is with his characters, because I think because of how real they are, how flawed they are, you feel like they're real characters. As like I kind of pointed out to a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people get upset about, yes, there's always going to be people that just don't want Mushoku Tensei to exist. They're always going to hate Mushoku. And they're going to continue to sit on the sidelines and wait for somebody to mention something bad happening in Mushoku Tensei so they can watch that episode and say they're informed on the subject and that this is a horrible show. But for people that I think watch the show and actually thoroughly enjoy it, I think a lot of people don't realize the reason why it upsets you is the fact that you're upset about choices that Rudius makes is proof that you feel the writing is so real that you're getting invested and you're getting frustrated. You're allowed to not like the decisions that Rudius makes, but that doesn't mean the show and the story should not exist, because it's the story that it's telling is those mistakes and those regrets and those weaknesses that he's going through. And I think why the series as a whole has always been something that I feel should exist and is so incredible is because there's a lot of people out there. I know that a lot of people don't want to admit this, that they have the same problems. A lot of people out there that have skeletons in the closet. They have issues they're facing. They have mistakes they've made. They have regrets that they've been facing. And to have something that they can connect to so well because it's believable and because it's so real, because they've dealt with these problems, there's healing in that. There's relatability in that. And then there's also the aspect of, even if you can't relate to it, you can understand it and you can kind of root them on. And that's what makes Mushoku, and always made it so incredible, is that ability to just grab your attention and punch you in the gut and show you somebody that has been through terrible things still pressing forward. Like what encouragement is that somebody this bad can make it? I guess I can too, kind of thing, which I don't know if you agree or not.
I think that a lot of the writing strength is in its relatability. I also believe that it is one of its greatest strengths is its ability to make sure that everything is tied in and every knot is tied with a perfect bow. I don't think that I've ever found anything that's really kind of left behind. Every detail is almost painstaking in its, the writer is very detail orientated.
Yeah, it is definitely one of those ones I'm super excited to do a reread of it, because it's like you have those moments, even for me when I was doing my skip content videos and I'm going through it and I'm kind of going, okay, well, the episode covered this, and I'm going through all the stuff that the episode didn't cover, what was skipped from skip content, and every now and then I run into something and it's like, I'm literally doing my skip content video, and I'm like, yeah, and then this character did this, and they said this, and I go, I almost want to like smirk at the screen, at the camera, but because I just realized something it's pointing out there that I'm like, don't put the poker face on. Even this is something they should know, that you can't give an indication because it's going to come up later on. Yeah, there's so much kind of like little details and gimmicks and just mechanics that he just loves sprinkling throughout it.
Are you encapsulated everything that you wanted to say?
Pretty much.
Okay. I'm going to put a super spoiler warning. You can pause it and do all your editing that you want to do.
Do you want to put a spoiler segment at the end of the episode, and you just want to do it right now?
Well, it's just a silly question. How far from here until is there?
They still have to go to.
Okay. Because it was the graduates and me kind of had a debate on whether or not this season would end on.
Everybody was saying that. I'm like, no, that he's. Why does everybody say? Now they could. There's no way that they can cut all that.
And that's true.
Everybody was saying that a certain was going to show up, and that was what everybody was, I think, was mentioning. That was going to be like the tease, but it was like they can't even do that unless it's just a nod.
Well, I think that it would have been probably the biggest slap in the face for pretty much everybody with the ending of.
Now, well, that's right. They also have to do. Well, no, that would be. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. They're probably gonna end the first. Could they leave the first core of the next season with that? and then have the second core be
that
the
would
fight.
be at any rate. I mean, either way, it would be a massive just talk about a tease. I think it would just be such an awesome, not necessarily do all the reveals, but just that walking into that room, him just.
You think I can leave this in the recording and just bleep out everything that has anything to do with context?
I think you should. I should.
So it's just like, do you think that they bleep, 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 it's just a bunch of nyas? Just a bunch of I'll just do that. There was a oh no, I was looking back at the Monarch Diary series because I was trying to refresh myself, and I was listening to one of our podcasts talking about it, and it had that clip of the I was like, we just play that over and over again. Was it Tsubasa, whatever? She was like sitting there just like over and over again. Anyways, yeah, it's an incredible season. But yeah, I have to admit those last little snippets of the season made me mad, because even as somebody who is at volume 20 of the series, 20 of 26, there was one thing shown that I still don't know about. I'm like, how would you show that? I don't even know what's going on there. Those stupid little teases. I hate that. Of course, that was like the case with the beginning of part 1. Yeah, this is episode 0, part 1. That technically showed something that wasn't in the novel series until way later.
And the stupidest thing
so everybody
is
was telling me don't watch it.
What's stupid is I can't neither confirm nor deny anything, because it's and listening to Andrew say something, and he's like, this happened, and he starts going into these random tangents of his thoughts, and I'm like,
Chris has learned to
God.
just I suck at replying to you, so I'm not going to say anything. I'm not saying
anything.
It's just like, it's already spoiled 2 things, and now I think he's just super camera shy. Talk about anything Mushoku. Yeah, good stuff. Really, really good stuff. Super emotional season, and it's just a cut above the rest. It's just easily the pick for me, I think, for this season for sure. It's just going to be fighting for a lot of stuff in this year. There's a lot of really good stuff in winter that wrapped up in winter. It's going to be very tough.
I honestly think the directing in this, at least this particular core, really pushed it up. All the scenes that were necessary to get right, they did, and I think they did fantastic.
Yeah, there was only one. If you had to pull one thing out of me that was skipped that really did frustrate me, it was Elnlise and the Desert Warriors. I wanted that. I'm sorry, I wanted that scene so bad, because I could tell everybody that was I was already sold on Elnlise, and I think it was a lot to do with the wedding. I was already sold on Elnlise even before then, but it's like that scene with her stepping up to that warrior and being like, what a willful child, you want to go? And it was like this whole like context of, they don't even know what she's saying, but they know what she's saying. She's saying, back off the boy. I was like, oh God, this girl's so good. And then like that whole like reference to the idea that she's running along there, and the entire time she's on his side between him and poison arrows. She was adding on his side. Like the entire time she's shielding him. I was like, God, I love this girl. I love this girl so much. Like it was literally that whole entire journey was, and that was the thing I was mentioning, because everybody's like, well, because of time and budget. And I'm like, yes, we all know. We all know that there's schedules, times, and budgets. Things have to be cut. Well, that's nothing new. My whole point is that I don't like the argument that it's not significant. Because what is significant in Refugian storytelling
is everything.
Characters.
Well,
yeah,
I think
and everything. Yes, I agree.
I
understand they're not going to tell the entire story of the warriors of the desert.
Yeah,
I understand that their focus is on Rudius' story, and they have to cut something. But that's character. That's so much character in Elnlise right there. Such significant character growth for her.
Well, even the just the warriors of the desert. I mean, there's a lot of things that are involved in a lot of that stuff that is
like
absolutely necessary.
How the culture deals with succubuses.
Yeah,
like they literally like there's this whole history about how Laplace just sent the succubuses out to kill everybody and procreate and make tons of succubus, and so they had to deal with this threat, and how they literally had to design their parties around fighting back.
A spear maiden or something like that that was what the girls were most of the warriors as well.
Yeah, they brought slaves at first, and then after a while they realized they were just dead weight, so they had to actually raise women to be the ones that'll step up when the men get charmed.
Yep.
Like, it's so cool. Like, there's like Refugien,
and
why?
they have respect for that. It's not a
she's super proud of it. She was like, he's like, this sounds, and Rudius of all people is literally like,
wait,
this is kind of wrong, but she's proud. So what am I to say?
Yeah,
like she's talking confidently about how and I sleep with him. This is like, she's so proud of it. This is her role. That's their tribe. That's how they've always lived. This is life or death for them. Of course she's proud of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went back and I popped out a baby. I'm proud of it. Yeah, because I made sure the future of our tribe goes on. It's like it's a different culture. Of course. And again, it's not that Rudius is going to sit there and like go, man, you guys should change that. No, he's going to go, that's what they do. I mean, that was the whole deal with Julie. When it came to Julie in Core 1, this is the culture. And I can't just stand in that marketplace and say, you're all bad people. Because guess what they're going to do? Okay, anyways, so you wanted this one? It's like they don't care. We'll level the place. Oh, yeah, sure. That's going to go really well with the entire kingdom. They're not going to send... Again, we've already mentioned the idea that Rudius is a glass cannon. It would just take one warrior of a certain skill. Within a lightning flash, he's dead. Within a blink of an eye. Just like a sword king.
Yeah.
Blink of an eye, you're dead. He has no way of defending himself. He has no battle order, which is sadly one thing that they've not really gotten into too much with the anime adaptation, is he's tried to make a battle order. Bodyguard tried to teach him while he was at the university, and he just can't produce it. He's got all this mana, and he can't drape himself with mana to make a battle aura. And if he could make himself pretty dang durable, but he can't. So he's just, again, one flash of a light, and he's dead. But I do appreciate the fact that he is. I've always pointed out the idea that it almost feels like Refugien writes Rudius as not being the main character, and that's something I've always liked about it. Him not being, he's got a massive mana pool. Yes, he figured out how to do silent casting. Those are huge, and yes, what he's able to do with Earth Cannon or Stone Cannon is pretty darn unique and interesting. Again, another one of those skip content things. Bodyguard mentions that I don't think he said it in the anime. He may have. Bodyguard, in the segment of the first core of the second season, he mentions to Rudius that his stone cannon is like Imperial. Like, it shouldn't be this good. Like, it's an intermediate spell, and he's somehow managed to make it what would be equivalent to an Imperial spell. So he's doing something very unique, but he's still fragile. And there's still so many other characters that are so more important than Rudius that it kind of makes that. I mean, like with the first season, this random dude walks past him in the middle of this the lower, was it lower upper jaw or lower jaw? It was the lower jaw. Anyways, he was walking through this little pathway, and suddenly out of nowhere, this random guy shows up and just Rudius done. Just rejured. Get out of here. It's like Rudius is not that powerful, and so it's always interesting to have this perspective of somebody that's just not really this OP guy, like you get with most anime, where the OP main character blasts an entire mountainside and everybody goes "Sugoi." It's just not. That's not the story it's telling. It's telling somebody that's just living in this place and trying to get by, and that's something they always emphasize throughout the entire series. Is Rudius is just trying not to make that was a haunting thing for him with Orsted, by the way. Running into this dragon god Orsted. He's always been like, don't step out of line. I don't want to meet another Orsted. He's like, there's sword fighters out there that will literally kill you so quickly, and I have no way of battle aura, so just keep your head down. Just keep your head down. That's why everybody hates him so much, because he keeps his head down. Soldat hated that. Just keep your head down. Speak politely. Don't make anybody mad. Don't ruffle feathers, because I don't want Orsted to donut me again. I don't want to run into another Orsted that'll donut me. It's good stuff. Anyways, should probably, I think that's good. Do you like seeing Dillo?
Dillo.
Yeah, Dillo. The armadillo. Dillo the armadillo. You don't remember Dillo the armadillo? Was that not in the web novel?
I'm guessing not.
The armadillo that they trucked back to the home with? I was a little mad, though, because they didn't put him in front of the fire when they had the meeting. It's like, where's Dillo? They showed him earlier, but where's Dillo? I don't know. There's a massive fandom for Dillo. I've realized that people love Dillo. I like Dillo too, but I didn't realize that people love Dillo that much. He's a good little trusty steed, that Dillo. It's good stuff. They actually showed the horse though. The horse was big, dude. Mazakaze, was it Mazakaze or that Paul's horse? I always get him mixed up. But yeah, that horse was big. beefy. Anyways, shut up, Andrew. That's Mushoku Tensei Season 2, Part 2. Check out my video on it. I had fun. I made several interesting videos. I did my whole review of it, and then there was one that was feedback from somebody, their complaints about the series, and I enjoyed going through that post and picking it apart. That was a fun video. It turned out way longer than I wanted it to be. Let's talk about Go Go Loser Ranger. Go Loser. Go Go Loser. Do I even have it on here? Sentai something Kaikakushu or something like that. There it is. Daishikaku. Go Go Loser Ranger or Sentai Daishikaku is the next one. This one's streamed on Hulu, ran for 12 episodes. Done by Studio Yostar Pictures, based on a manga. Action fantasy is the genre. Did you get a chance to watch that one? Did you get to watch that at all? Go Go Loser Ranger?
Not since where I left off.
Oh, how much did you get through?
Just the first couple of episodes.
Oh, okay. Anyways, yeah, this one takes place...
Because remember I asked you if he actually...
oh, yeah. But yeah, this one follows it's essentially like a Super Sentai type of thing where you have like the big baddies show up on this floating fortress and they come down, they attack the humans, and then the Rangers show up and they beat up the baddies, and the baddies get defeated, and then they go back to their lair and they think of the next plan to do it. But it's a little more grounded here, is that yes, when they showed up, they attacked, they had this battle between the humans and the monsters for the longest time, and at some point the Rangers acquired these actual artifact weapons that allow them to actually kill the baddies. And from the public's view, the fortress is up there and they keep sending bad guys down, and every week it seems like the monsters will come down to this arena and the Rangers will show up and they'll beat it up, and it's like this big spectacle. Like every week everybody shows up at the arena when the monsters come down from the fortress, and they beat them up and they send them back into the lair. But what's actually happening is that after the killed the bosses of the bad guys, they basically turned all of the minions, like the weakest of the weak of the baddies, into pawns, and they force them to come down every single week, and they beat them up, and then they'll be turned into dust, and they'll reform back up in the lair, where they'll have to think up their next monsters they're going to come down with next time, all for like this big spectacle. Like it's a big marketing thing, and the public doesn't even know this is going on. And so at some point, Fighter D, which is one of these minions, he's done with it. He's sick of it. He decides to hide amongst the humans, disguise himself as a human by transforming, because they actually have the ability to transform themselves, and he's figured out how to transform himself into a human. And so he infiltrates the Rangers. He's trying to find them, locate them inside their headquarters in order to kill them one by one. He wants to take down all the Rangers. So it's basically that whole thing. At some point, he ends up running into a couple people that are kind of like sympathetic to the fighters and the monsters, which is kind of weird. So he gets some quote unquote allies. They all have like their own thing they're kind of after. So it's not like a thing of like, we just want to kill the Rangers alongside you, so let me help you out. They all have their goals that they have in mind they're going after. So he's always struggling with that, because he's not like he wants to trust these people just because they say they want to take down the Rangers. But he has to keep his disguise while he's kind of infiltrating and taking them out. So that's pretty much the gist of the series. The other thing they did at some point is that he got kind of involved with the entire like training ordeal. Like they have to go through these exams to become an actual official Ranger cadet. And so he gets kind of wrapped up in that. And it's like introducing all these different characters that all have their own dreams to becoming cadets as well. That whole thing was like a big segment as well. And then some big reveal towards the later part. But yeah, that gets into my review of the show. Early on, I found it very unique and fascinating. The idea of the bad guy, the weakest of the weak, somehow trying to take down, because they've lost their bosses. And if you think about it, it's basically amongst the humans, the Rangers are their bosses. And so you have the weakest of the weak over here, which is pretty much like a citizen over here, having to take on the big boss. And that's just ridiculous, because literally somebody can punch Fighter D across the face and his face will literally be blown away and it has to rebuild itself. Like he's like tissue paper. This guy is super weak. And trying to figure out how he would even have a chance at defeating even a cadet versus him even defeating one of these Rangers is just kind of mind-boggling. Like he even had a chance when they were doing the weekly fighting in the arena he had a chance where he stood up and said, "I'm sick of this," and he went to go attack one of them, and it was just like no contest. He got his face wiped into the floor. So it's like, how can he manage? So it kind of turned this whole thing of kind of seeing how he was gonna kind of figure out how to trick, I guess, figure out some way of tricking the cadets and the rangers and figuring out how to kill them. I think this is the curious question mark that I had. What sort of a little bit plays into my difficulties that I had with enjoying this show is that early on I really liked it because Fighter D was so intriguing because he was, the way that he thought was almost primitive and instinctual. Like he constantly had to kind of keep himself in check because he hated being amongst these other cadets who were enjoying the limelight of being heroes amongst humans. Like kids are walking up and wanting to take pictures with them and whatnot. And they're eating steak dinners while him and his buddies are up in the floating fortress, literally sitting there just trying to figure out what thing they're going to do next for the next week's competition or whatever. So it was like a lot of frustration that he had, and a lot of him trying to keep in check his primal instinct to just destroy the people right in front of him. And I like that kind of stuff. Eventually it gets into him infiltrating deeper and deeper into it, and that's, like I said, where it kind of starts to lose me, because at some point, again, he gets kind of caught up in this big like exam for cadets. And it started introducing a whole bunch of characters that I just did not care about. And they all each had to have their moment of showing their driving force and what's pushing them to want to be a ranger. And it's like, I just didn't care. And a lot of the competitions they were going through, it almost felt like it was a tournament arc. Like it was literally almost like a tournament arc out of nowhere. And I'm like, let's get back to him trying to figure out how to kill the Rangers. Why is he doing this right now? It's like, at some point, I just lost the plot, I guess. Because I'm like, I just don't care about this, and I don't know why I know why he's going through with it, because he got sort of a leg in by disguising himself as somebody else, and that person would have to be doing this. But there's still a side of me that's like, does this really matter? Like, what are we doing right now with this story? And yes, it eventually gets to a punchline like, oh, okay, so this is why the writer did all this. Because he wanted to have Fighter D go through this kind of change. Sort of a change in what his driving force is, his focus is, or at least how he sees things. But in the end, it wasn't, it felt a little, it even still felt a little jarring for me. So I did like the later parts, this big reveal they had, which did kind of throw an interesting wrench into it. And I'm sort of intrigued by what they can possibly do going forward with the second season, which I think they got a second season for this already. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes from here. Visually, I really enjoyed it, even though, like, for the most part, there was a lot of use of CGI for him and the Rangers. But it looked good. Like, it was actually kind of surprising how well they blend in the style. I think the Rangers themselves, or the Dragon Keepers, I keep calling them Rangers. The Dragon Keepers, they sort of look a little off with the CGI. It almost looks a little bit too plasticky, I guess is the best way to put it. But it looked good. I think overall, visually, the show did look good, so... Especially the fighters. I think the fighters kind of looked interesting, how they're all minions with these little skeleton faces, and they all kind of have their own expression on them and whatnot. It was kind of interesting, so. Overall, it's good. It was a good show. I was intrigued by it. It's very different. I liked a lot of the craftiness of Fighter D every now and then, and like I said, his weird, skewed way of looking at things. I did feel one big negative I had for the series, that it felt like everybody was trying to take down the Rangers. Like, at some point, it's like, does everybody hate the Keepers? So why are they... it makes sense. It kind of goes in that whole realm of, like, The Boys kind of thing, where the heroes of the world are actually, like, the biggest scumbags ever, but the public doesn't know about it. Like, they'll be in a dark alley at some point, just murdering some dude to steal their money, and nobody's gonna say anything because it's the Red Ranger or whatever. Nobody's gonna speak up about him. He's the hero. It kind of do that whole thing, or like they'll walk into a meeting, he's just covered in blood because he just murdered some dude and nobody cares. Yeah, it kind of has that whole thing going for it. So it obviously makes, and that's what I was assuming was gonna happen from the very beginning. Okay, we're following the bad guy, so they got to make it to where all these, if the main character's goal is to kill a bunch of heroes of the world, there ain't no way they're going to be good people. Because otherwise it's going to be, like, really hard to watch. Like, you come to find out Pink Keeper is actually a mom, and she's super nice, and she, like, has an orphanage for 500,000 people, and she visits the orphanage on a daily basis to tell bedtime story to everybody. Nobody's going to watch a story where Fighter D goes in there and murders her in front of the kids. They're going to make her into the biggest scumbag ever. That way you go, yeah, kill the fake ranger. Anyways. That's Go-Go Loser Ranger.
That would be so ate up.
It was so bad. It would be so bad. I mean, there's been some shows
that would be like that would make the most sense. I mean, if you're taking the bad guy and you're going against the good guys, I mean, that would be but no, you got to be the bad guy has to be relatable. The bad guy or the good guy has to be
well, I mean,
as dark as possible.
They could make it as neutral as possible in the idea that the fact that they've basically been putting them to work for years and years, farming them like little sheep, wouldn't that be enough for driving force? Just keep out of their personal life. But no, they have to get into their personal life and show how evil they are. It's goofy. Anyway, let's go Loser Ranger. What's our next one? Soundy Euphonium. I've actually been excited to watch this one. Probably the only one that I'm kind of a little sad that Chris didn't get a chance to catch up on.
I'm very disappointed I didn't get to it.
No, he had to watch the movies for Day Live. Oh, I'm sorry I brought it up. I wasn't gonna bring it up. I ended up bringing it up. It's a sore spot for Chris. He's like, I didn't know I had to watch those movies. Anyway, Sound Euphonium season 3. For those who don't know, Sound Euphonium essentially is about a girl named Kumiko, and she goes to a new school, and at this new school, they have a band, and she joins the band there. Then she runs into some other girl who is called Reina, and Reina is super serious about band and wants to hit the goal. And there's kind of this little conflict about taking the band seriously or not. Reina really loves their composer slash musician instructor guy that is Taki, who's like a very famous conductor. And yeah, going through the seasons, there's like these different conflicts with each season, each year of the actual time at this specific school, until we get all the way into the third season, which at this point, Kumiko and Reina and a lot of the other members we've kind of been following for the longest time are now third years. Is it third year or fourth year? I think it's third year. Their last year at the school. So,
well, I think you said that the movie was covering the second year, right? Or no?
Yeah, I have it on my notes, actually. It says third year. Never mind, sorry. Okay. Yeah, so the movies are like second years. So this is the third year. And I think obviously the biggest change here, slight spoilers, by the way, the biggest change here going into third season is, like I said, them being third years now. This is technically their final year in their school, which this is typically for a lot of students, obviously, is going to be the point in which they're going to have to be doing a lot of their prospective school colleges they're going to be setting up for. Like, the school themselves wants you to actually lay it out. They want you to write down what college you're going to. You have to make a plan. Are you going to go to this company? Are you going to go to this college? Which college you're going to? They set you up with exams and everything so that you're ready to do it. Like, this is the point. And so there is a lot of stress for a lot of these students at this point to have to worry about that. Kumiko, who is at this point in her life, is also now pretty much running the club, and so she's like the president. You have Reina and Suichi. They're also part of it as well. Reina's the drum instructor, whatever. Suichi, I forget what his role was. Like, he was vice or something like that. But they're now like the three kind of leading the club itself. Taki's obviously still the composer, like band instructor guy, but they're the ones running the show. So the big thing here is obviously, again, slight spoilers here. This is their last chance. This is the last chance. If they want to get the nationals, they want to get the gold, this is the time. And so there's a big focus in this season where Kumiko and Reina and Suichi come to an understanding or agreement that they're going to incorporate a different way of actually doing the tryouts for the different competitions. And they're doing a three-step what's the word, Chris, when tryouts? 3-step tryouts. So with each competition they're going to be doing going up into the nationals, they want to have people try out for positions every single time. Because they have, this year, I think it was 52 band members. Their club has 52 students. So they have a lot of people that can be in the actual competition. So they're wanting them to try out every single time. And this creates a massive amount of drama, obviously. As you can tell, this is going to create a lot of drama because you'll have, there's a lot of, and this happened in the first season as well, there's a lot of expectations that some people have that if you, like there's one girl that transferred in. She transferred in her 3rd year. And she doesn't want to try out for anything because Kumiko has been there the whole time. They're both using the Euphonium, and she doesn't want to take that role from her. She's always been there. And then you have, like, with the first season, they had a lot of emphasis on that with Reina showing up and her taking the position of doing the trumpet.
Yeah.
Trumpet. So there's, like, this kind of idea where there's a lot of drama that's around somebody taking a role from somebody else, or they got the role, but then, like I said, another tryout happens. Yeah.
The solo.
It's always the soloist usually, but there's also only so many slots for euphoniums in general or trumpets or whatever, so that sometimes that can be a thing. So you have, like, and then the next tryout happens and somebody loses their position, and now somebody's upset because they had it before and now they don't have it. But the idea was to create this, the idea behind the multiple trials is to force the individuals to keep trying, keep getting better, because even if you don't get it here, keep practicing because you might get it here. And to have that kind of switch happening, it forces everybody to keep pushing themselves rather than you got here and now you can be lazy. The whole focus here was to change their game and try to push each and every single one of them to the goal. Not to say who should get positions, to say only the best gets the position because we, as a group, as a school, we want the gold. We don't want to fight over who's going to take positions where. This isn't a popularity game. This is us. This is us with our best game getting the gold. And so that did create a lot of drama. But anyways, outside of that, yes, we get a couple characters they kind of zero in on. Motomu has a moment where he's got an issue with his father. We got a lot around Kanade. A lot of the focus was really around Mayu, who was the new transfer student. Kumiko obviously is a big focus as well. Kumiko and her relationship with Reina was a lot of great stuff as well. Just a lot of little great moments of every single character and really kind of bringing them together towards a goal. But I think a lot of my enjoyment of this season was really around Kumiko because there's so much stuff on her plate. I don't know how she stayed sane. I really don't know how this girl got to, but it's like this massive growing point. Because like even with like the first season, seeing a lot of the drama that happened, a lot of her relationship with Asuka, and then getting into this final season is really finally seeing her as a character, just kind of handling a lot of stuff that I think most people at her age would not be able to handle. Like I said, she still has her future ahead of her. She doesn't know what she wants to do in her future. And then on top of that, she has to manage 52 kids that all want to start fighting over crap. It's like all this drama around her, and she has to keep everything afloat. And then again, there's that aspect of even though she wants to push for the best to be the ones performing, there's still a little desire in there that she wants to have the solo with Reina or something like that. So even there's like that selfishness that still is there that she could probably make a call and get the position herself, but this is something that she wants to do is go for the gold. And so massive respect for that whole thing. So obviously, because it's KyoAni, gorgeous. Do I need to say more? Visually, it was easily the best looking show of the season. I mean, you can probably, some people would say Demon Slayer, but no, it's just not, it's not a question. Like, KyoAni, visually, directing, the attention to detail, the character designs, just the instruments itself, the sound, everything is just absolutely incredible. Like, just hearing the sound of the instruments just going down the hallways in the classroom, just like, it feels like I'm back in school and there's like the band club is right down the hallway and you can hear them, you know, playing the trumpet or something like that. Just, the immersiveness that comes from that is absolutely insane. Additionally, adding to the characters themselves, the expressiveness, the emotion that was in a lot of these scenes. Like they had this whole one segment where one of the students was trying to push a lot of the new students to keep pushing forward despite the fact of how harsh they were coming down on failure and mistakes. They were trying to be very rough on them to push them, and she was trying to encourage them to keep moving forward, but whenever they would, you know, bust down in tears, she felt like she was responsible. So it's like this whole breakdown moment with her and was like, oh my gosh. Even the later part, yes, the way later part with Kanade and her just absolutely just chewing into Kumiko about what happened. It was like, oh yeah, that hurt. And then Reina and her comment that she made about what she chose was like, oh, this hurts. The emotion, the expressiveness, the detail, the sound, it's just 10 out of 10. Like visually and audio, I can't argue. It's a 10 out of 10. Story wise, it's like a 9 out of 10. There's that one point, and this is my only negative you're going to ever pull out of me of this entire season, because this was an incredible season. I've said it before, I'll say it again, over and over again. Season 1, I didn't like. Just way too melodrama-y. Season 2, I loved. I love Season 2, and I was glad that I actually picked up Season 2 rather than going, it's going to be more of Season 1. Season 2 was incredible. The movie and the OVA, masterpiece. Getting into Season 3, 9 out of 10. The only thing that was a negative in this season was how many damn times do we have to have this girl walk up to Kumiko and say, do you want me to fall out, or do you want me to not do the tryouts? She keeps coming up to Kumiko, like, it felt like every single episode she has to go ask Kumiko, do you want me not to do the tryouts? Do you want me not to do the tryouts? It's like, we've already talked about this. Why do we have to talk about this literally every single episode for, was it 12, 13 episodes? Please. Why does this have to be, is this like Sound Euphonium Season 3? Do you want me not to try out the animation? Like, this is so repetitive. I understand why it was being done, but it's just like, do something with this story, because this is getting really repetitive. But yeah, that was my only beef, is I was like, it got to a point where every now and then this girl would come around the corner, and the moment I seen who came around the corner, and just knowing that Kumiko is the only one right there, Kumiko's like in this little back area where she does like a lot of her, because they each have to get a spot where they can, do their solo practice. And so she has this one little spot behind the building next to the window, and she'll set up this little spot in this little bit of shade from the roof. And she sits there alone, and then like somebody's walking around the corner. I'm like, please don't let it be her. Okay, it's Kanade. Okay, good. She's kind of a jerk. I honestly, I think I love Kanade. Her design's cute as hell, and she can be super cute, but girl is a drama queen. She is an absolute mean girl drama queen. She wants to prod any drama out of people. It's like, shut up, girl. You're going to cause drama.
But would you like her more than the one that's going to act?
Yeah. She comes around a corner. Kanade comes around a corner. Okay, that's fine. Try to prod some drama out of her. Kumiko's going to say, okay, please stop. Okay, somebody's coming around a corner again. Who is it going to be? Okay, it's Motomu. I don't know why he's there. I don't know why the hell he's going to talk to her. He's obsessed with Sapphire. Go get Sapphire. But no, Mayu comes around the corner. It's like, damn it. She's going to say it, is she? Do you want... No, she's going to say it again. It's like, girl, let it go. It's like this. Is that all you know how to say? She has like this sound. She has a soundboard, and it's like, what option do I choose? Hi, how are you doing, Kumiko? No, I don't want to press that one. Great day, isn't it? Nah, I don't want to press that one. Hey, let's practice together. Nah, I don't want that one. Do you want me to drop out of the tryouts? Yeah, let's press that one. It's always option 4. Anyways, it's not that bad. It's kind of annoying though.
She probably, it was probably written over with all the above type thing, but for whatever reason, when she keeps pushing it, it's not actually doing that. It's actually doing...
No, they put a sticker over that button that says "Press this to win $1 million." She's like, yes. She falls for it every time. She falls for it every time. It's like you come around the corner and all of a sudden the little dialogue boxes come up. Boop, 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 win $1 million. Damn, I fell for it again. Every time she falls for it. Anyways,
it's that malware.
Looks like you're trying to fix Kumiko. Would you like some help? Press this button. Damn it, Clippy, you tricked me again. Anyways, yeah, that was some good stuff. It was some good stuff. I really enjoyed it. Really fantastic season. Definitely going up there as one of my favorites of the season. So, Sound Euphonium. Is there anything else I'm missing? I think that was pretty much it. We actually had a poolside moment. A rare Sound Euphonium getting with the... at least swimsuits, and it wasn't like very showy swimsuits.
We had fan service and
like a fan service and a Sound Euphonium / Q&A. Pretty shocking. It's like, when was the last time we had like fan service and Q&A? Would have been
Q&A would have been that
Phantom Show, Mirrored World,
not Stereotypes.
That was the OP, Chris. It's Myriad Colors Phantom World.
Yeah, that's it.
And the Carnival Show. What's our next one? Appraisal skill. I'm gonna rely on you on this one because some point I kind of half checked out on this show.
You did what?
It kind of lost me at some point. I watched it, but it was like I just didn't care about what was going on at some point. But it's been a tiring week. As a reincarnated aristocrat, I'll use my appraisal skill to rise in the world. Tensei Kizoku Kentai Skill de Nare Agaru. This one streaming on Crunchyroll. It has a second season announced, which is probably a good thing. The way this season ended. Studio Mother worked on it. Light novels, The Source, adventure fantasy. Opens up with a guy who is reborn into another world. And in this world, he at some point discovers that he has the skill to do appraisal. He can look at things and it shows people's stats above their heads. And his father is like the duke of this one little area. And so at some point his father says, you need to bring together, surround yourself with people you trust and are very skilled, because at some point things can go down in this area. There's a lot of conflict that's happening in the area, a lot of question marks as if there's going to be a war. And so Ars takes this to heart, goes out, ends up running into a bunch of different individuals who have crazy potential and whatnot, stats and whatnot, and recruits them all, brings them back to his father. His father will approve them or not, and then they can essentially serve Ars to, hopefully in the future, if something happens. Eventually, yes, shocker, spoilers, things do start to happen, and so you have Ars having to utilize those around him, the individuals that he has cultivated around himself to overcome adversities. So that's the synopsis. I forgot to get any characters in this list. I'm missing 2 very important characters, obviously. So you do that. You start talking while I fix the list. What's your thoughts and review of Reincarnated Aristocrat appraisal skill?
I really, really love the show. I know that I have a bad habit of loving these kind of weird kind of light novel shows that have all kinds of crazy RPG tropes in there that they're kind of making some kind of weird twist on it. But this is really cool. He goes into it as this kid trying to just genuinely try to help his city. And I think that that's really where this shines. Is Ars is just a really cool kid. And as he's kind of building up this all these vassals around him, I mean, Reitz, he bumps into him and kind of just does an appraisal, sees this really high skill, and he just latches onto him, and he's
one of those people.
He's one of those people.
His race from over the seas. Gross.
And I love that he's just this genuine kid. I really fell in love with his fiance, though. She was absolutely a blast. I just loved how just genuinely she had this really high ambition, and he was super worried about the fact that she has all this high ambition, but she's just latching on to me so hard. I don't understand. Why is she so into me? And
she can read minds. She obviously can read minds.
And as it finally kind of reveals her idea of how everything works, and her ambition was to find somebody who she could genuinely like for being just a genuine person. And I just loved it. This show just does that in spades. And towards the latter part, when you start getting into the really more grander scale things, it just really is very interesting, and I really can't wait to see where they go with it. So yeah, I love it. I highly suggest it. I think it's a fantastic show.
Early on, I think that the concept of this show is super cool because, kind of like I was joking about earlier with Mushoku Tensei, is I do like every now and then having these fresh takes on where the character is not an OP, one-shot everything type of character. And with this one particularly, what was interesting about it, intriguing about it, is that this is one of those cases where the main character has no skill himself. He just knows how to find good skills. And so, yes, you can kind of say it's the same thing, because what he's doing is he's essentially employing instead of casting an OP fireball, he's saying go attack Ritz. And so he's technically he's gathering OP abilities to himself, but they're individuals. That's the key thing there. So I do actually like the concept of having a character who's a leader, and they lead very OP characters. Because yes, everybody he's going to run into is madly OP. Ritz is massively OP. Charlotte has never cast a spell when he first met her, but he sees that she's like insanely high in magic, and so he says cast this spell, and literally just massive explosion. So he'll get like all these individuals that are massively OP in their own right. And it doesn't always have to be skill; it can just be leadership, strategy, knowledge, things like that. And that's basically who he kind of surrounds himself with. That concept's cool, and I felt it very refreshing coming into it. But at some point, I just kind of lost interest, and I think it was after Alicia got kind of involved. I was kind of a little bit... I did like Roselle's story, which was kind of super heartbreaking with his father. But like after he kind of got his main party together, I just started like losing focus, because then it got a lot into the politics, and a lot of that stuff didn't really feel... It didn't feel very interesting, because it was a lot about his father. It was a lot about the war that was brewing up. It was how he figured out how to kind of overcome the war by employing somebody else that can kind of get the information he needs. A lot of that stuff, like at some point, the gimmick... I almost felt like the gimmick became too much of the focus and not so much about what Ars himself was going to do. I do find his drive and everything to be very cool. His desire to... even though everybody laughs at it, his desire is to make a land where kids can be happy. Like, who was it? Charlotte was the first person to ask that. Like, what exactly is your goal, rich boy? And he's literally like, let me think. And wasn't this the show where he thought about where he was a worker in a train, and he's seen a smiling kid when he was like depressed as a salaryman, and then he's like, it's to see kids smile or something like that. This was a show, right? I'm not misremembering this, am I? Is after he got Charlotte on board and she asked what his goal was. Didn't he cut back to a train looking at an infant and going, I want kids to smile?
It's possible. I don't remember if it was specifically this one.
It's got to be, because, again, that's his focus. His focus in the end is that
his
all children
focus is
smile.
Definitely is to
he wants to make a land where kids are happy. Which is admirable in its own right. I mean, a land without children happy is a land of misery. I mean, why can't children be happy in a land? I mean, if the kids can be happy in a land, then it shows the land is flourishing. So people are able to have children. The children can be safe. They can grow up to be adults. They can make more children. It's a foundation, basically. But anyways, it was kind of a jokey thing. But it's like that's his driving force. It's just to make a land of happiness. But he's too pure. But I kind of lost focus after a while. I did really like the introduction of Morel. I found her to be just a absolute blast. Their little skirmish together was way too much fun. But I don't know. I at some point I felt like it just wasn't... It wasn't a charming show. I guess is the best way to put it. I just didn't really care about what was happening on the screen at some point. I don't know if it was just like... At some point, I just felt like the characters weren't working for me. The chemistry wasn't really working for me. It felt very all over the place with the characters and who was in the cast at the time. Something broke. Something really did break for me. So, and it never really kind of repaired itself. Yeah, I do agree. I liked Alicia. She was great. Her dad was Pax. I don't know why, but when I first seen her dad, I was like, dude, it's Pax. Why is Pax in this show? I was just waiting for him to turn and say, where's Roxy at? Oh, Charlotte, she's back. She's back in town. We have literally a Roxy lookalike, which is Charlotte, but no, not the chest, because Charlotte like has a growth spurt at some point and just boom. And then yeah, we have this guy that looks like Pax, which is Hammond. That was about it. That's the only Mushoku ripoffs. Everybody else is normal. Or was Raven Paul's Seiyu? No, he wasn't. I don't think he was. He's very Pauly though. Anyways, that's my thoughts. It looked all right. Visually, it looked all right. So,
truth be told, if I'm remembering right, I bet you that was Nyanta.
No. Yeah, that's a bold-faced lie.
I'd have to hear his voice again.
He was way too...
Nyanta has a very, very distinct... I heard him in another show.
He rolls his words. I don't think that was him. He's a very, like, in the throat kind of person. Has he even been anything? Let's see.
Yonta?
He was Yonho.
He's been in a couple shows this year, or this season.
Well, I know. He was Heiter in Freren. And... No, I don't see him.
Okay.
But yeah, that's appraisal skill. It was decent. And like I said, very, very unique show, so I can give it that much credit right there alone. So it was a good show. It was a good show. Anything else on appraisal skill? Let's go on to Demon Slayer. Do I even have an outline for Demon Slayer? Probably not. Probably don't. Which is probably not a good thing, because I'm not gonna remember anybody's name. So I'm gonna have to pull up some kind of outline. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull out an outline.
Yes, y'all, this is another one on my list of shame. I didn't get to it.
Hashira training arc, my analyst. Let's do Mal. Actually, probably should do AniList. No, it's got dark mode on here. But yeah, this only ran for 8 episodes, so it's not too much to get caught up. It's only 8 episodes. Even though the last episode was an extended long episode, which wasn't really because it spent all the time having Michael Jackson slow motion walk. But yeah, 8 episodes, obviously done by Ufotable. A shonen series. Again, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Hashira Gekohin, which is Hashira training arc. Yeah, for those who don't know, I don't know why you wouldn't know, this arc mainly focused on Tanjiro, and really it's really at this point because of what has transpired with Best Girl in a Box, which is probably easily the biggest negative about the season, is that we had one scene of Best Girl in a Box and she was sleeping.
No, I'm not watching
like an entire season of Best Girl in a Box just sleeping. It's literally like season 2 of ReZero, where like Best Girl Rem just sleeping the whole damn time. But at least everybody remembers Nezuko in this season. Because yeah, she's the focus. They're obviously having to train themselves now because Nezuko has something happened in the previous season that was a pretty big deal, and so they know that there's going to be Muzen, the big bad guy, is going to be making his move. And so they're all having to prepare, and having pretty much everybody, all the members of the Demon Slayers, all coming to train under the Hashiras, the main captains of the Demon Slaying Corps. And so it's basically mostly Tanjiro's perspective, going to each one of the different Hashiras and training under them putting him through some sort of training, having to figure out some way of overcoming some challenge, and then they'll approve of him, and he'll go to the next location. All the while, they hinted early on about some sort of awakening ability that they can possibly do. It was something that Mitsuri and what was the other guy's name? A couple people in the last season awakened to something where suddenly out of nowhere a mark appeared on their face, and it was some sort of awakening that is significant. So they were having to figure out how that actually worked. All culminating to a couple reveals around certain characters like Gyome Hamejima, who's the crying guy. They got into his story, which was kind of interesting, but they got a little bit into each one of the Hashiras, which was kind of cool, and then eventually leading up to some big, massive reveal at the end of it. So, yeah, that was the season in a nutshell, and my thoughts. What can I say? It's a training arc. This is literally a training arc. What is there to say about it? No, okay, that's being harsh on it, obviously. Like I said earlier, I think the big nugget here was obviously getting more into Gyo. Like I said earlier, getting into the crying guy, getting a little bit more into Obane. Who was the other guy? I forget. Pretty much each of the Hashiras, getting a little bit more into each one of them. I didn't really care so much for really any of them, but probably Hamejima. That was probably the only Hashira that I was kind of intrigued by. The rest of them was just kind of shrug, which obviously a lot of them we've already kind of gotten a little bit into before this season even started. But it almost felt like this was an obvious training arc before the big bad shows up. And so that in itself is a typical shonen type of trope. But this almost also felt like oh yeah, by the way, we haven't gotten to these guys yet. We still have these captains that we still haven't gotten their stories, so let's try to get them done really fast before we get into the big bad. Because this is obviously leading into the big bad. Again, like I said, most of it I didn't really care for, which, to be honest, I haven't really been... I haven't been into this series in quite a long time. At some point, I kind of fell off. I did find the Swordsmith Village arc to be very refreshing, but I have been sort of falling out of love with this series for quite a while now. I was a huge fan of it in the first season, but I think at some point I started kind of just cooling down on it. The last couple episodes were pretty dang hype, so my hope is that at least maybe I think they're doing a trio of movies for the ending. Sequel movie. I think it's supposed to be 3. Yeah, 3. They're doing a 3-part movie for what I'm guessing is going to be the finale. So I'm sure that probably in 2 or 3 years we'll probably watch them in TV format. Because that's what they like to do is they'll make a movie out of them, and they'll turn them into seasons afterwards. So they know where the money is. So it's gonna be probably a while before we actually get to see these. So I don't know. I'm hoping the movies end up being pretty hype. They're probably just gonna be some crazy over the top action. So hopefully that turns out well. But yeah, it was okay. It was okay season. I think the biggest plus was the fact that Zenitsu, whatever his name is, wasn't there much, so not too much screaming, which is good. Anyways, that's Demon Slayer. My really crappy review of Demon Slayer, because I just don't really care too much anymore. Let's talk about Eurocamp. Eurocamp Season 3 happened. This will be a quick one. We all know what Eurocamp is. Not really much to say here. But yeah, we had Season 3 of Eurocamp. Ran for 12 episodes on Crunchyroll. A lot of this season, I think the good parts in this season that I want to really kind of point out is I really did enjoy getting a little bit more into Rin. Early on, they had some more little snippets of her and her grandfather. A lot of the focus was more on Ayano hanging out with Rin for quite a while. At some point, Nadeshiko talked to a lot of the girls from the club who talked about their little adventure together, which I thought was kind of funny. You know how they usually do those kind of things where they have they're showing an event or there's footage of an event or location, and they'll have those little live reaction boxes. At some point, they're telling a story, and suddenly out of nowhere, Nadeshiko shows up next to them in the story, and she's like, "Oh, this is great! I want some of this." And they're like, "Hey, get back in the box! You're gonna break the world!" And suddenly, all this weird stuff starts happening, like big, gigantic cats and stuff shows up. And they're like, "Get back in the box! You're messing up the world!" And so she gets into the box and starts to watch them from a distance, and then continue on telling the story. And then every now and then, Nadeshiko would pop up in the little box and go like, "Oh well, I want some of that." And then out of nowhere, they start to cook something, and then she jumps out of the window again, like, "Stop doing this!" And then later on, when they finish up the day, it was getting too cold, and they look over at the box, and it's nice and warm inside the box. So they jump to the box the other direction. It was kind of a cute little way of kind of recapping their experience while throwing in some jokes in there with Nadeshiko, doing live react, but. That whole segment happened. A lot of oh my gosh, I don't know why, but it felt like a massive chunk of this, and it was probably only like a couple episodes, was just literally nothing but drawbridges. Like, they had this moment where they had this obsession with going over drawbridges. And yeah, later on, kind of going towards the later part, was just them all getting together and enjoying some fun together to wrap it up. A couple points in here that we're talking about futures and stuff like that, which I was kind of, intrigued by. But for the most part, it's just what Eurocamp is, which it's a give and take for me. I always felt like Eurocamp is especially good at just relax, unwind, and Iyashike. Just relax with the girls as they enjoy traveling around, seeing the sights, camping out, cooking up some food or something like that. Making pizza at a campfire? What the hell? I've never heard of that before. That's atrocious. Making pizza at a campfire or some soup or whatever, and relaxing. We actually had them retry to make the sausages, and apparently the second time she actually did it right. At the beginning of the season, I think it was Chiaki. She tried to make sausages and she failed at it, and so she had to make them again, and everybody was afraid of it. But she made it good the next time. But yeah, it's relaxation, it's enjoy the sights and all that kind of stuff. But I will admit there's a side of me that gets a little frustrated with this series because at some points it does feel a bit too much like an advertisement. When I love this show, it's when the characters sit down and relax. Like early on, the first couple episodes is like Ren just chilling. I love that stuff. It's Ren sitting out at a campsite, enjoying herself. Maybe she gets mad because some locals, some people that visited left a bunch of trash somewhere, and she picks it up because she's angry. It's just the chill moments are great because I so vibe with it. It's so good at vibing with the characters, taking in the sounds. the scenery. A lot of times they'll kind of use like what it seems like an actual. I'm guessing they probably take pictures of locations and they redraw over it, because they really do nail a lot of this. Some of the stuff kind of looks like it's filtered actual images, but for the most part, it's like really well drawn backgrounds, backdrops, and the aesthetic and everything just fits. The music with it and everything. That's when I love the series. What I don't like about the series is where it's just constantly moved to this location. Look at this location. They sell stuff here. They sell stuff here. Look, this is their specialty food here. Look, there's a drawbridge over here. This is a special site over here. And it feels like a tourist guide. That's where I don't particularly like it, because I can't relax into it. Like what Eurocamp does so well is relax and vibe. And when it gets so caught up in what feels like an advertisement for as many locations as possible, like they're trying to meet a quota for some sort of write-off with some prefecture or something like that, like the whole thing that happened with Dropkick on My Devil. It's like that whole situation where they're doing these advertisement with these different districts, and so they have to keep showing all the different locations and what's special in locations. Like that's technically to the theme of Eurocamp, unlike Dropkick on My Devil. At least Eurocamp is about that, showing those locations and showing sites you can go to. But when it moves so fast and keeps showing all the different locations, I can't vibe with it.
Truth be told, it seemed like it was kind of doing that in the second season.
But I feel like it was doing it too much here.
What I thought was more kind of, because when you were saying advertisement, I was kind of trying to think of if the first two seasons had done it, and it almost seemed like it was doing it almost to a point with the specialty tools. So it would like, look at this cool little device, and then they kind of dink with it a little bit, and this is what it does. And it's
like the portable campfire kind of thing.
But I never felt really kind of turned off by it.
I always like those because it's always like a how-to.
Yeah.
Like, how would you use, like, they literally bring up this little box, and it's like, what is this thing? Well, you fold it like this, and then you put the stuff inside of it, and you set it on fire. That's cool. Or they, like, early on this season, they made, like, they used these, they fill the dish with, like, alcohol or whatever to make, like, a little cooking stove kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That stuff's cool. Yeah, I love that stuff. But like I said, my issue is just, and I agree with you, I did see it in the previous seasons, but I always felt like it was always about, like, you know, Rin doing her own thing, and then she's telling Nadeshiko, updating Nadeshiko every now and then what she's doing. Nadeshiko's over here doing something with somebody else, or, like, you'll just have pairings up with people doing different things together. Technically, they had a long segment where Nadeshiko was traveling alone, and you had Rin and, like I said, Ayano, I think it was Ayano, that was together for a while. It just, at some point, it just felt like it was too focused on, let's hit as many shops as possible and show what's in those shops, rather than just relax and take in the moment. And like I said, that's where it's taking away from what makes the series so great. It's that chill vibe. But that was only like this little segment in the middle. The rest of it was still good. So yeah, I still love it. It's still super chill. I highly recommend the series if you just want to just relax and just take it in. I even got super emotional at some point. There was this one point where Rin was traveling around and she recalled this one site. And it was like this one site that she remembers from her childhood, being with her father and mother driving down the road, and it was nighttime and they could see all these stars out in the distance. And they got to this one spot where they stopped to look at it. And she recalled, like, oh yeah, this is that same exact spot that we were looking over at. And I was like, I immediately thought of like us traveling across country and just seeing all the lights, and Dad's always having to drive, and he's probably like super tired. Parents are probably sick of hearing us. I just had like this little random nostalgia moment. Just it nailed the vibe. Like it just had this kind of like nighttime in the car, family driving together and just looking out through the window to this big sea of stars, and Dad's driving and trying to bug him.
Or the haze of the lights from Las Vegas.
Oh my gosh, dude. My gosh. But yeah, still super good. Even though I was a little bit disappointed in the middle part, still super good. I love the series. That's Eurocamp Season 3. What else do we have? Tsukimichi. Suki already has a Season 3 announced for it. They're going to keep going with the show. It's good. Good stuff. I didn't even think this show was going to get 2 seasons. There's a lot of Sukis. Tsukimichi, Andrew. Let's put more than Suki. I don't have an outline for Tsukimichi.
You're fired.
It's probably in my... It would be in our first impressions for... It was a 2-core, right? Yeah, it was 2-core. So that would have been Winter. Winter Master Doc. Bring up the Winter Master Doc. It will definitely be in there. I just didn't transfer it when the seasons changed, apparently. Of course, I was very late on starting up this season. That's for darn sure. I had to go through... When I got back on it a couple weeks ago, I was at episode 9. So I had to watch, what was that, 16 episodes? I was way behind. I was like you with...
I didn't do too bad.
I was like you with Dungeon Meshi. Let's copy this. This over to here. There we are. Look at all them characters. That's a Tsukimichi cast if I've ever seen one. You want me to zoom out a little bit? This is like as bad as Mushoku Tensei. It's like way too many characters. You want me to zoom out again? There we go. There's everybody. There's everybody. Anyways, yeah, Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy Season 2. Suki ga Michi Biku Isekai Doshu, second season, done by JC Staff, light novels, a source, action, comedy, adventure, fantasy. And for those who don't know, this one follows a guy who at some point gets transported to another world. Thankfully, Tsukuyomi, who's kind of initiates the whole transfer process, says, "Hey, dude, your parents like made some agreement to come to transport to your world, and in return, they have to give up one of their children to go back to the previous world, and so that's you. So you're gonna go over here to where the goddess is and live in the world that your parents came from." And yeah, by the way, the goddess is kind of a difficult thing to deal with, so just kind of be patient with her. Sure enough, he gets there. Immediately, the goddess says, "You are one ugly son of a gun. There ain't no way that your parents gave birth to you. Your parents were good, but I don't know what the hell you are. Go to the edge of the world. Don't go anywhere near my humans, and just stay with the demis." Yeah, humans. Don't breed with my humans. And she even gives him like a curse to where he can't even speak the common language. So, yeah, sends it off. And then at that point, he pretty much meets a bunch of demi-humans, makes friends with them. Eventually beats up a dragon, Tomoe Shin, which Shin at the time, he names her Tomoe. And the dragon has like this dimensional pocket that has another world that he can kind of go inside of, and that's where he kind of starts bringing in demi-humans to raise up an entire nation inside of there. And all the while having to go to the humans every now and then in order to do trade with them, sees how nasty the humans are, eventually runs into a bunch of adventurers. At the second season, we go right into him making a deal for opening up a shop in the human areas with this merchant named Rembrandt. He eventually kind of gets tricked into signing up as an instructor at this one academy in order to have the ability to make a shop. And so now he has to start instructing a bunch of kids on how to fight. He gets pretty rough with them in order to get them to kind of drop out, but that doesn't work out. They're all a little bit too stubborn to do that. Eventually running into the difficulties of working with the merchant guild, and then meeting the demons, and then eventually having to essentially decide if he wants to get involved with the humans anymore or not, or open up his own area to prosper in, which that was kind of the wrap-up point. So what was your review of Tsukimichi season 2?
Kind of left out the heroes.
Yeah, they had a lot of time spent with Hibiki and Tomoki. Yeah, you're right. That was like the first course, so I'm sorry, it's been a while. That's like months. That's like, what, 6 months away? Yeah, something like that.
I actually really liked it. I thought that a lot of this was really cool. I just love the world building in the show. I did feel like I was getting bored a few times. But
the school stuff sucked. Is it the school stuff?
Maybe
I hate the school stuff.
I don't know what it is about it this particular season. I actually think it was more along the lines of the kind of weird battle that they were doing over the city. Yeah, it felt like it was really all over the place. There was some through lines that I found more interesting, but some other through lines it was like I don't really care. I really don't like the dude with the charisma eyes. He's like irritating the snot out of me. But they keep bringing him back on the screen. It's like, fine, he's gonna be a bad guy. Just leave me alone with him. I don't care.
His initial like introduction was kind of like, oh, okay, so we're doing this, whatever. And then at some point, it felt like it kind of pushed him away from the limelight. They went over and they started getting into Hibiki, and I was actually more interested in Hibiki than anything else because they kind of hinted at her a long time ago. So to finally have her kind of in the picture was interesting. But at some point, she meets Tomoki and Hibiki meet each other because they were going to do like this co-op between the nations, because essentially these two nations, each one of them summoned a hero, and at some point they had to come together in order to work together. And so Hibiki finally met Tomoki, and then he just randomly a jerk to her, and I'm like, what the hell did she do? Did she step in your cornflakes walking into the camp? Like, what? Why is he being such a dick to her? It was so random. And yeah, it kind of goes in that whole realm of him having like this absolute power of dominance, and it's like, yeah, I guess that warped him, but nothing has really indicated that yet, so it felt super jarring. But I don't know, I was okay with the stories with Hibiki and Tomoki. Not that I was super invested in it, but like them getting into that ultimate battle, was like, I just don't really care what the outcome of this battle is, because my only real concern is how is this going to affect Makoto. And not having Makoto involve them yet, I know it's not going to end in bad, because he still has to meet them, obviously. But my biggest issue was like after that whole thing, it just goes right into that whole school arc, and I'm just like, I like some of these characters. Like technically Rembrandt's children coming back into the picture was kind of interesting. Like, oh yeah, that's what those girls turned into.
Yeah,
and them coming back, and how you had like all the students were going like, wow, they've changed a lot. They used to be like really mean. Apparently, them turning into like hairless golems like humbled them a little bit. But like, other than that, like, girl, like, being super thirsty for Shiki, sure, that was funny, but... And then you get into, like I said, the whole demon thing, and, what was the other two girls? I don't even think I put them on the outline. There was the other two girls that were part of that one land that was taken over by the demons. I guess was kind of interesting, that just opened the door to him taking that over, but, yeah, I almost want to feel like... From, like, episode 9-ish all the way to, like, episode 23 or 24, I didn't care. I was mostly checking out. There was a moment here and there that I liked, but it was like, especially like you said, with the whole thing with the tournament coming in, I was like, I just don't care who wins or loses in the tournament, just keep moving. And then the crap hits the fan, and out of nowhere I'm going, why is Makoto doing nothing? Like, he gets involved here, but he doesn't here. I at first, when he's just sitting there, I'm going, well, it's because he doesn't want to help the humans. He doesn't really have a skin in the game, and he doesn't want to get too involved because of the goddess. But it's like, okay, he's just watching everybody die. All right, okay, cool. I mean, he kind of is heartless at times, and I do kind of find that intriguing. But then over here, suddenly out of nowhere, this brothel, there's a scream from it, and suddenly goes in there and blasts the monster. It's like, but so here you're going to save them, but over here you let the entire arena of people just get slaughtered, and you have your students out there in the arena, and you're not going to help them? At some point, I'm like, what is Makoto even doing here? I don't really understand what his thought process is in this situation. Again, I do know that he wants to keep his powers a secret.
Well, I know that he was,
but it's still like,
when the students were there, he was letting them handle it because he wanted them to prove that they were strong.
You know,
that
I understand
was kind
that, but like,
it kind of said that.
Right, I understand that, but it was like everything else around him is like, yeah, like I said, he was also not wanting to have anybody see it. Like, when the prince went up there and attacked, he literally had to use a spell to kind of cushion them without anybody seeing it, and then when nobody was looking, he had to use like some like phantom arrow to kill the things that nobody's seen him actually kill it. He was obviously not wanting to show his real power. That's like the whole teleportation thing. It's not like they want everybody to know that he can teleport, because then everybody's going to ask him to teleport things. The stupid sword. No, the sword. I need some moment alone. Crap, she put on that big show, so I can't use teleport. You can use teleport whenever you want. You don't act like suddenly because she acted like her sword broke, suddenly you can't just teleport right now to somewhere and come back later on. I like how he limits himself by saying like things like that. It's like, you know that you can teleport right now and just teleport back once you're done, and they won't know. Like they're putting these like artificial limiters in there so that he can't just teleport everywhere and fix situations. It's It's like, sure, whatever. You just let your pig girl waifu run in there and destroy the entire bad guys enemy forces by herself. She's got a
so
handle.
awesome. I love her.
Can I say
She looked awesome.
that massive battle and no CGI? Did I miss the CGI? I don't remember seeing any CGI, and they had a full scale war there.
Yeah, I don't remember any.
Looking at you, Overlord. If Tsukimichi could pull it off, you can. Come on, what the hell? That was a pretty... I mean, it wasn't like a massive scale looking. I mean, they did a good job of kind of like keeping the frame kind of narrowed in, but still, it was pretty massive. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm
in that big old thick robe. She looked so. Beast.
Yeah, you can see it in the OP. So I was kind of expecting it to come around. So it wasn't too much of a shock. But yeah, I think overall, I enjoyed the season. I just, like I said, I kind of checked out for a lot of the Academy stuff. I like the end result of it. I mean, I like seeing the kids kind of stand up and do their thing and fight for themselves towards the end part there. I found the whole thing with the Merchant Guild to be a little bit too predictable. Like, I knew it was going to be like one of those things where this guy's a total jerk and then he's going to have to save him, and then suddenly the guy's actually a good guy or whatever, and sure, whatever, let's make him... It was kind of funny because there is a side of me that I am super intrigued by the fact that they have had Makoto get to the point where he spelled blood. In the last season, I think you still have her on here, I think it's Elaine right there. In the last season, he took a life, and it was through pure revenge. And I think ever since then, it every now and then shows Makoto not really holding back when he wants to just kind of take somebody out. And so it's gotten to a point now where whenever he's faced with something that is troublesome, you'll actually have his inner dialogue saying, "This is frustrating me." Like with the whole Merchant Guild guy, this guy's. I was like, I wouldn't even doubt if Makoto just blasts this guy right now, because Makoto is at that point right now where the stress is building up. He gets these breaking points, and I think that there is sort of this question mark if he has that limiter anymore. Does he have the ability to hold himself back from just going, well, I can just erase you right now, I don't really care. And so it did sort of pose that question to me, but at the same time, I kind of assumed that he could have just fix the situation later on. And I do kind of find it a little bit troubling that the situation did get fixed by the end, because my hope was that it was going to turn into, well, screw you. I'll do my own thing. I'll set up my shops outside of your town, and I'll do it without you.
I think the more interesting thing about this show is its meta aspect. It causes me to, for whatever reason, look at this show in a meta sense, where I'm actually considering what it is that they're toying, the author is actually trying to toy with as far as its tropes. And I wonder if that's something that they will because I think that this is a good writer, a brilliant writer. Whether the story beats kind of work per se all the time, I think that there's a more interesting, it's more interesting in its grander scale per se. Like you're saying with him and his limiter, and whether or not it's actually there. I wonder if that will be the thing that he ends up butting heads together with Hibiki, which I think she's actually a very interesting character in the aspect of her technically being his polar opposite. As it stands right now, she is effectively a hero of the goddess, whereas he is the devil of the goddess. So it makes for this very interesting interplay between them, because they technically don't hate each other. So yeah, in general,
who do you think was going to visit the goddess? They said it was somebody from the original. So is that implied there is a... Because didn't they... this is one of those cases where I'm kind of wondering if I'm mixing up shows. I want to say that when they first talked to Shiki about the whole situation of the sages, they were mentioning the idea of, obviously, multiple worlds and the idea of traveling to them. But I don't remember. I think didn't at that point he mention the idea that was an origin world? Or am I thinking of a different show? Because I want to say that he was the one that brought up the idea of an origin world. There was all these other parallel worlds, and there was the sages that could transport between them. So it's like... that might be a different show. Now, I'm really kind of wondering now. I kind of want to go back and check that one again, but either way, yeah, it was interesting to find out about the land of the Japanese. They brought up out of nowhere. It's like, oh, we'll give you safe if you're being discriminated against, we'll give you a land to stay in. Yeah, he's being discriminated against, but he doesn't need protection. That was kind of an interesting little bit too. So, yeah, I do agree that I think one of the more fascinating thing is going to be Hibiki. I do like her power. That's another thing that brings it up is the dragon. That was kind of an interesting little twist they threw in there at some point. The one that's running the Adventure Guild, the dragons, all that stuff was kind of intriguing. I do agree with you that I think his strong suit, the best way to put it is I almost feel like Tsukimichi is kind of like it's kind of like a reincarnated as a slime situation where it's less about politics and town building and more about characters. Like I think this writer sort of has the same idea between the two of them, because just like Slime, this one's very focused on him trying to build a town and trade. Whereas Slime, I think, is more about politics and intermingling with other countries and building up the town at the same time and technologies. Makoto's not too focused on technologies. He brings modern things to the world, but it's through mostly Tomoe and Mio. Like, they have to dig into his mind memories and pull out weird technologies they want to and foods to employ into the world. But I almost feel like, well, yeah, Slime does focus on a lot of characters. They do have a lot of key characters they like to focus in on. This one, like, I think spends more time with characters like Tomoe, Mio, Emma, not so much in this season. I mean, they did early on, and they kind of bring her in later on that she's just pretty much taken over things. The whole interview segment was kind of funny. The entire time Emma's over there like, don't disrespect Makoto. And then like he's like, yeah, go ahead and use your Medusa eye, and it literally like turns the entire desk into a stone. He just breaks it, and suddenly they're like, oh, thank you, it's somebody that can actually undo the stoning. Anyways, and then like the little pixie people, was the pixies that one that ticked off Emma, and at the end she's like, denied. Did not like the little pixie.
I love her to death.
She's
still one of my favorite characters. Although this season Mio has really, really grown on me. I really like Mio.
Yeah, I like Mio a lot more in this season. I wasn't a huge fan of Mio in the first season. First season, I was a massive fan of Tomoe. And even this season, Tomoe was great. Like her running into Tomoki was so great. What are you trying to entrance me? And then she's like gets onto her what was it, Lime, her little kohai, her trainee. Now you enchanted him. That was a good little segment. The queen with him as well. Yeah, I'm intrigued where it goes from here. But yeah, no, like I was saying earlier, I think this writer's focus is so well with characters and having a lot of characters. But I do kind of wonder it's one of those series where I wonder how much more in depth the writer is on an individual concept, because I almost feel like there's probably something in the writing that is missing with the adaptation. And that's probably, I would assume, is probably the mechanics of the world. Because every now and then when it does bring up the mechanics, like his whole thing with, doing archery and technically dying over and over again because he was doing archery, and then getting into the whole idea of, meeting with the dragon and discovering how to manifest his mana into physical form and using that as a shield and all that kind of stuff. It does make you kind of wonder how much is actually put into the mechanics of the world and the spells. And I'm curious if there's like a lot more in... Because I think where I create that question mark is with the pocket dimension and the weathers there and how it's kind of being affected, and them having to open up different gates at different locations in order to equalize the temperature and all that kind of crap. That stuff kind of makes me wonder just how in depth it is. Like we're just kind of scratching the surface of it. So it's kind of intriguing. But yeah, it's a good show. It's a good show. Despite my little beef with the school arc. Still a good show. Anything else? Anything else? Okay. Duke of Death and it's Maid. JC Staff worked on it. Manga is a source, comedy, supernatural, drama, romance. And this one is, for those who don't know, the franchise is about, it follows a guy who is Bokchan. He is a duke, son of the duke. He is currently living in a mansion in seclusion because at some point when he was younger, he got cursed with a touch of death. And so anything that he touches dies, including people, plants, whatever. And he's secluded. He's told that if he doesn't figure out a cure before a certain time, he will basically be kicked out of the family, and his brother's going to take all the inheritance and the role as the head of the house. And so Bok-chan is living alone. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Alice shows up, who is this maid, and she starts to take care of him, and she's super into him and embarrasses the hell out of him all the time by being extremely flirtatious and getting really, really close to him, which scares him because he doesn't want to kill her. But yeah, they're obviously really, really in love, but again, also trying to figure out how to undo this curse. The whole thing with the backstory was that at some point this one witch named Sade was the one that actually cursed her, or cursed him. And so they're trying to find Sade in order to figure out how to remove the curse. And this season, they finally get into Sade. Sade is like a major focus of this season. They're finally getting into her, what actually happened in the past, how Bok-chan got cursed, and trying to face Sade by going through time magic. Time magic to face Sade and have her remove the curse. Which they also are joined with Nico, who is somebody else that was... There was a couple people that actually got cursed by Sade as well. So they're trying to undo that. But yeah, my thoughts on this final season. I'm mixed. I think it is a great final season for this series because obviously this has been the build-up. It's been the build-up for 3 seasons now, finally getting to that conclusion point where does Bok-chan finally get the curse removed? I don't know. Will he ever have it removed? I don't know, but that is obviously the conclusion that you're looking forward to. Will him and Alice finally get together? It's all the build up to that stuff. Whether the joke is there or not, I think the build up to that punchline, I'm mixed on. Like, this is something that I've been probably debating for, I think I finished it, 3 weeks now ago? I think it ended 3 weeks ago. I've been debating for 3 weeks now, or however long it's been since it ended, on my thoughts on it, and I'm still to this point kind of mixed on it because while I almost felt like they were trying to build it up into this massive climactic battle, like this big climax point that's super big and epic, and I don't really feel like it needed to do that. It's one of those cases where you're like, but this isn't you. Like, yes, the series has always been very focused around witches and curses and kind of melding the worlds of, like, normal humans with the world of the witches and the wizards and all that kind of stuff. But when it got to this point where suddenly you have everybody's facing off against Sade and trying to, win over Sade in some way, because that was the original goal, is they just want to talk to her and have her end it. They don't really want to fight her. And it gets in that whole realm of trying to empathize with every single character, no matter if they're good guy or bad guy, building into this big epic battle where they're still trying to empathize with the character. And then the conclusion of that climactic battle wasn't really satisfying to me. That said, I did like the story for Sade. I did like the conclusion for Deleth, conclusions for Walter, all these characters, and yes, obviously with Bok-chan as well. Zayn and Cuff, they pretty much had their moment in the previous season. I absolutely adore their characters. Sharon was fantastic. Bok-chan's mother was fantastic. Getting all these kind of threads that have been put together for 3 seasons now, kind of wrapped up in a nice bow, was satisfying, because I have loved the series pretty much this entire run. I really thoroughly enjoyed the first two seasons, and I just felt like they tried too hard with the season to make it something grand. And I didn't feel like it really fit.
I can almost agree, because the show's never been something grand.
Yeah, it's always just kind of chilling in his mansion. Mm-hmm. Cuff shows up. They bring a couple things to try out to get rid of the curse. This one, transport them into a world full of Alice's. Yeah. They're relaxing. Viola shows up. She's geeking out over Rob because she thinks the eye patch is hot. It's so goofy. And to have it go into this big large scale battle. It's like, I don't really need this. Just resolve it. But anyways, beating the horse to death. But yeah, I still enjoyed it. That was a really solid wrap up. There's time stuff. Might bother people. I try not to think too much about it. There's time stuff. I don't want to think about it. Keep that in mind.
Dang it.
I told you that last
He's talking
week.
to me. He's telling me something.
I told that to Chris the other week. I was like, I'm not going to say how, but there's some time stuff you're probably going to be bugged by. Won't say how. Just don't worry about it. Don't think too hard on it. It's going to bug you.
Do they try to explain it?
No.
Then it usually
That's a good thing.
That's usually
Don't
all
think
they
about it.
have to do. Exactly.
Just don't try to explain it. They'll kind of do this whole thing and they go like, hey, what's up, guys? Time. Don't think about it. Look at the cute Alice. Look at Alice. Everybody look at Alice. Don't pay attention to that. Look at Alice. There was like one of the funniest clips that came out of this season, and that was like when everybody like gets together. They have this big powwow inside of the Duke's mansion, and they're in this one room together, and they're figuring out what each group's gonna do. And they basically assign Viola to keep all the wizard girls in check before they go off into because they want to send them in groups, and so like they have to leave behind all these. Like the Tangirl witch and stuff, they're all like there, like these Gyaru witches are just there, and they just assign Viola randomly to have to keep track of them. And they have this one shot. What was it? Was the Gyaru one? One of them was standing there right behind the couch, and Viola was sitting in the couch, and they're just talking about what their plan was, and out of nowhere, if you could possibly miss it, but you could just slightly see Viola look up. And their eyes just get bigger. She's just staring at somebody's chest. I'm like, it's so random. Viola out of nowhere is just like getting a big eyeful of some chick's chest. Viola is so great. Hestia's Seiyu, like she's so fantastic. I will say, this is one of those ones where I kind of want to go back and check the previous seasons, because I do kind of see that I could have drawn those conclusions through Bokchan. I didn't get the mother's resolve. There was like this whole moment where it's like, I don't know, where it's like, yeah, technically mom does care for you kind of moments.
Yeah. And
I'm like, I don't know if I kind of just drew my own conclusions about her, but there is like, it was a massive question mark as to, do I believe that what she did was right or wrong, and the idea of pushing her out there, pushing the obvious initial nasty for the mother is that she pushed him out in the middle of nowhere and said, fix your crap, don't go anywhere near the family, stay there in that mansion. If you don't fix your curse by this time, we're disowning you. And so maybe that's like where you draw the conclusion that she's a really horrible mother. And then I think they were mentioning the idea that she didn't want Viola or Walter to go anywhere near him. So it was like this isolation thing that kind of makes you assume that the mother was evil. I don't know. The conclusion they were on the mother, I was kind of mixed on. I'm happy about it, but at the same time, I am kind of like, that almost feels like it wrapped up a little bit too easily. I mean, that's just like the whole thing with Delith. They did that with last season. Delith resolve was like, wait, what? It was like out of nowhere, Del's just like fixed. What? This is like the big enemy of like for what, a season and a half, and then fixed. Or was it only a half season? Was she in the first season too, Delith? Was she at the end of the first season?
She was. I think she was introduced on the second season.
Yuki's trimming her nails over there.
Yeah, she's trimming nails.
I was like either that or she's having a seizure or something down there. You're like a pop noise. Anyways. Yeah, I like it. Cuff Beth Girl. Zayn was great too. Cuff and Zayn were my favorite parts of like the entire series. I actually like them more than Bokchan and Alice, but I did find Alice very, very beautiful. Alice is a very beautiful character. Anyway, that's Duke of Death, season 3. DAL, Chris. It's time for DAL. Do I have an outline for DAL? I do. I do have an outline for DAL. Day Live 5th season, Chris. It's here. They announced it at the season? Didn't they announce it at the end? No, I don't think they announced one yet, did they? Daily Life 5th season, done by Geek Toys. Light novels of source, action, comedy, ecchi, fantasy, mecha, romance, sci-fi, drama, magical girl. What else can we throw on this one? Sports. They do sports every now and then. Harem.
Visual
Isekai.
novel.
I don't know.
Visual novel.
Time. Visual novel. Anyways, yeah. This
Survey.
Yaoi, Yuri. You got some Yuri in there, some Yaoi in there, everything. But yeah, this season, where I'm trying to remember exactly where this season started. This is one of those ones where I'm kind of meshing the seasons together. This is obviously the big battle against Westcott. Everything's kind of coming to a head. We get a little bit of history about Westcott and where he kind of started at. We get a little backstory about the original spirit, which that's like a pretty big, significant chunk of the story. The big climactic battle, the appearance of Origin, and then the resolve. And that's pretty much everything in this season.
Yes.
So what do you think about the 5th season after watching 2 insignificant movies that you enjoyed still?
Yeah, the 2 movies were interesting. Very not involved with this story. So we can kind of set them off to the side. Liked them, but they were useless for me. Going into the 5th season, I did enjoy it very much. I think that it really was an interesting one. I mean, it felt all over the place, but yet at the same time, it was like, oh yeah, here, this window. Let me throw up all these windows. They were throwing up windows all over the place, and it was like, it felt like I was getting info dumped like crazy. Every reveal, all the reveals at one time. So it was kind of nice and at the same time a little bit overwhelming. But to be fair, I was binging it. So take that into consideration. But yeah,
I think I binged 3 sessions. I think I did 3 or 4 sessions for me personally. I was trying to keep up on it, but every now and then I kind of dropped off and I had to binge a couple episodes. So
yeah, you kept telling me about the CG, and it was okay. I get it. The CG is bad.
Oh my gosh, that was my ongoing joke, was like waifus battling CGI waifus.
But yeah, the thing, if I was to say anything, is it got overly convoluted. I think that everything had solid through lines, but at the same time, it was trying way too hard to do everything all at one time. So, I mean, it was cool. I liked it. I kind of miss my original waifus. They kind of got lost in all the crazy, but that's to be expected when you have 11 plus waifus. So yeah.
Well, that's been my argument for the series for probably 2 seasons now, is like there's so many characters at this point, and I would assume that maybe with the original source material, it's probably a lot better to kind of have moments with every character. I'm assuming that there's probably a lot of cut content with this franchise, probably just these brief moments of maybe having him hang out with Natsume or something like that, just to talk about something. Because what it feels like for the last couple seasons has been really like Shido says, ah, crap, this happened. And then he looks over to the pack of waifus, and there's like 11 girls staying there, and they're all like, they might jump to each one of them, and they might say one comment per issue, like one brief sentence, like Toka says, oh, that's terrible. And then it cuts over to Kotori, and she's like, yeah, we got to do something. And it would cut over to, that it just like, it gives them each a brief moment to say like 3 words with each dialogue, and they don't really have a moment to really shine personally with each one of them. Rather than be separate characters, they feel like one mass is really the thing. It's like Shido's a character. Kotori for the most part is a character because she has to lead the Madagascar or whatever the hell, the ship. And then all the other one, Toka and all the rest of them, I mean, Toka had a brief moment in this season where she actually got to do something separate. But for the most part, all the rest of them are just one unit. And they just move around, they respond to everything. And that's been kind of a...
And then
Kurumi's like just doing her own thing for the last 2 seasons.
She's so awesome. I love her.
I will say these last 2 seasons definitely kicked Kunimi up for me. I still don't care for her laugh. Like, it kind of...
I love her laugh.
Her laugh, like... it feels like an 80-year-old woman when she laughs. I don't care for it. But yeah, Kurumi has her own thing. Toka has a little brief moment, but everybody else, and Kotori is running things, but everybody else is kind of just.
It's so funny because as I was watching it, I found myself. Toka was cute at the beginning, and then I just started really souring on her.
It was so funny because like here recently, when he had that brief moment with her alone, I was like, "Oh wait, Toka gets a moment." Wait, Toka gets to be in the show. She has parted from the waifu blob. she like, I gotta get out of this blob of waifus. Oh, let's have a brief moment together, Shito. And then right back in.
Well, even at the towards the
later part,
the latter parts is like
the
of course you're gonna do something. You're the box art.
You're the main character, obviously. Yeah, they have this brief moment where towards later part suddenly like these tentacles are coming into the moe waifu blob, and they're pulling out the waifus from the blob one by one. That was that moment where I was literally going, yeah, whatever, just finish it already. I know what's gonna happen. Just pull the trigger already.
You've already started about
what's going to happen. Just pull the trigger already. We know the writer's not going to stick with this. Pow. Okay, there it is. Okay, that was coming from a mile away. But yeah, all the waifus get pulled out of the blob, and then Toka's alone, and it's like, oh, Toka gets a moment. Do it, Toka. And they go back to the blob right afterwards. No, for me, I definitely liking what they've done with Kurumi over the last 2 seasons. The whole story behind the origin was probably the only thing that was really fascinating for me for this season. I really did enjoy getting the backstory stuff, finally getting a culmination of what they've kind of been hinting at for, 3 seasons now with the origins and where all the spirits are from.
Yeah.
So getting all that stuff kind of wrapped up was cool. Westcott's character was probably the biggest disappointment this entire season. His story was so stupid.
I liked the others. I think that they did well. But him in particular,
What's your driving force, Westcott? Oh, really? Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
It was a total he was
the definition of Andrew's cackling bad guy.
Yeah, he was legit the epitome of cackling bad guy. It's not really cackling bad guy. It is I want to see the world burn. It's equal to that kind of crap. It is it's not necessarily that. I'm just being vague for the sake of being vague. It's literally like the I want to see things burn thing, and it's like, okay, sure, whatever. And then to have him kind of pop up towards the later part again and do the whole, oh, it's all according to Kikaku moment. I'm like, then what the hell were you doing in the previous loop? It was one of those moments. I'm like, if this was his plan here, then what about before the bullet went off over here? What the hell was he doing to Shido back here? If this was whatever, don't think about it too much. Time, don't think, Andrew. Stop thinking. Look at the moe. Look at the waifu blob. They're cute. They're so cute.
They kept putting the witch girl behind Toka.
Anyway,
I was like, how many is he at right now? And I'm like, oh wait, there's the green hair back there. She's hiding.
She's hiding. Oh look, Miku said something. It's slightly offensive. Let's move on. I did like Nia a lot, but yeah, for the most part, they kind of just all did their usual fanfare. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Kurumi's stuff was great. Westcott was horrible. The whole shtick about the build up to the I'm just gonna say the bullet going off, I hated it. It reminded me of the whole trope of going into the dungeon and everybody goes, I'll take it from here, you go on ahead. And they go through the door to the next location, the next boss. I'll take care of this boss, you guys go ahead. And at some point I'm just going, just take them all out and then do the reset thing and let's try this again. This is really stupid having to go through everybody getting removed. And I'm going, oh Tuka too. It's like, I don't care. By the first one, I knew where I was
Origami
going.
obviously should have survived that. She's OP. We all know this.
Nobody likes Origami but Chris. I think I'm the only one that doesn't like Origami. I really didn't like that one. What was that like? Something happened like season 2 or something like that where I have never liked her ever since then. Of course, it's not like she's gotten a chance to regain my like because she's always a part of the blob.
No, they usually keep her in her own room over there in the DEM empire somewhere. That
Threatening the other girls to not go into battle. Randomly blasting some chick in it. Yeah, like the wrap up in the second after the bullet was okay. I like the whole kind of inner conflict thing. Even though he tried to NTR himself. He tried to NTR himself. Do you realize that?
Probably.
He tried to NTR himself. A past self, but he tried to NTR himself. Shido, the character that's like, I think number 2 in anime trending's top list, he tried to NTR himself. And people are okay with that? That's rough.
That's what's the cool and in thing.
Japan loves NTR. They just don't want to admit it. Yeah, that was all right. I did like the backstory stuff, like I said, with the origin, all that stuff. The wrap up was decent. I'm kind of curious as to. I don't know what the hell they're doing next. I don't think there's any threads open right now, is there?
That's what I was saying. I don't foresee any.
I know it's not all of this. I know what I've seen people say that's not fully adapted. So it's like, yeah, it's like, what next? Unless suddenly out of nowhere, Westcott comes back.
Yeah, man,
Westcott's
I forgot
back.
about that.
Westcott's back. I don't know. Maybe Westcott's girlfriend wants revenge. That could. I mean,
technically, the girls didn't lose their powers, so it doesn't surprise me that they could continue the. Because I was fully expecting that they would lose their powers after.
I guess the only thread that I think that we really haven't gotten too much into is it was like last season, so I don't remember what it was called. There was like this other aspect of Awakening that they dabbled into for a little bit.
Yeah, technically that was
they had to do it in order to get the book
for the Westcott thing. Yeah,
yeah. So they could possibly do that with each of the characters because they really have
Kurumi. Kurumi has the ability to apparently cleanse that. So
yeah,
I was surprised at that. Which it makes sense. I mean, she has the ability to change time for something. So sending it back in time to cleanse it would make sense.
That's always the problem. Is there's so many of these characters that are just so God mode. Like this girl can literally turn a key and lock somebody up. Kurumi could just like undo things and alter time. I don't know if they imply that Nia has her book back. I know that Kurumi has it right now.
No, they gave it back to her. I think that the
book is insane, dude. The book is insane.
That was like the moment when Kurumi got it, I was like, okay, can we make her any more OP?
No, what was funny is because like the moment that it was Nia that had the book, right? The moment that Nia showed up with that book, I'm like, she can't keep that book. Okay, Westcott got it. Okay. That makes sense. They can't have a character walking around with
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's like, so what are you going to do now? It's like these girls have way too much OP abilities, so they got to keep kind of doing something that causes them not to be able to do anything or something. Or lock them up somewhere. Anyways, yeah. I will always, in my heart, see Kotori as best girl. But I do have to admit that Kurumi, despite her cackle, I like the other one better. The other clone that was kind of doing her own thing for the while. Her outfit was super good too.
I like her outfit.
I like towards the end there, like Kurumi just randomly lose a bunch of her clothes.
Well, she got sealed.
She's standing there with like just nothing but her undies on.
You do remember that? Pretty much anybody who gets sealed, they lose all their clothes. Yes. So it was kind of great.
It's just like standing there with like
so worth it,
hanging out there. Her little, like,
and she's just owning it. She doesn't even care.
Did you like Shido doing his new technique of projectiles? He discovered how to seal them away by blowing the kisses. So like all these little like random like girls just running around everywhere, and she just shoot them down. I was surprised.
And then of course Kurumi is flat out just throwing it back in his face. So you say that while you're in the middle of kissing another girl.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, Kurumi is so awesome. I love it.
But yeah, we only really touched on it earlier. But yeah, I don't know. There's a side of me that's always like I want to give them an excuse but I don't really want to. The CGI sucked. I'm sorry, the CGI sucked. I mean, it wasn't. It's like
It wasn't the worst. It was fine.
It's like a 6 or 7 out of 10. Like it's not to the realms of like, oh god, I can't look at this anymore. It's not like overly shaders and detail. But it's not good either. Like it still has that stiffness to it.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, it was serviceable. I mean, it was okay. I understand which character is which. It didn't get so bad that I was like,
I can tell who's on the screen.
But at the same time, I mean, it wasn't its best. It wasn't the best that I've ever seen. I mean, clearly, it was just it did what it needed to do.
It worked. I could tell who was who. I like that one dude. Anyways, last show. The last show that nobody cares about but me. Yes, Sandland the series. And before I even get into this, which I'm not going to get too much detail because I think I did in first impressions, and my thoughts are pretty much in the same boat as back then. It was like I think it was 8 episodes was like the first arc, and I think the last episodes were the second arc. The first arc of Sandland, the animation, was a movie, and it was an adaptation of the manga Sandland, which was, of course, done by Akira Toriyama. Rest in peace, the Dragon Ball creator. And he made a script and everything for the second half that was not adapted in the manga yet, which was the second story of Sandland, the series, which they adapted for the TV anime. And I watched that whole thing. I originally watched those first episodes just for the Sandland area. Slight spoilers. The second part is going into, was it the Forest Land? I think it was the name of that second area they go into. I enjoyed the first arc, which was the movie. And it's very, very nostalgic, in your face, rub it all in there, love it to death. It is like old school Dragon Ball. Like it is just a band of individuals that are all from different kind of setups, getting inside of a tank together, going off on an adventure. And I love that stuff. Like it felt like I was watching Goku traveling with Chi-Chi and everybody else all over again. Now, I will admit that first arc doesn't really have like a massive amount of substance to it. It's got a very simple story with, a good through line, which is about this, I forget the name of them. There was like this, Peachy tribe. There was like this Peachy tribe that was like investigating this new technologies. At some point, the humans, they covered it up at some point, but the humans double-crossed them, try to steal the technology away, and turn them into the bad guys in the history books. And so they're trying to find this tribe, or they were actually trying to find a water hole. They end up running into the Peachy tribe. And it gets into this power source and what the government covered up and trying to unravel the truth. The second arc is where it gets this Minuel guy involved, which is this angel. Again, the forest lands, and this big conspiracy to take over the lands that Minuel is trying to do. I think I remember when I was doing my first impressions, I thought the first arc was good, and it was very nostalgic filled, and I really enjoyed it for that sake. And I thought that going into the second arc, I was already seeing that it was expanding the world a lot, bringing the angels into pictures and in the picture in this other land. And I thought that the story was going to broaden out more, introduce new characters, and it was going to be more interesting. But it never really did. And so I kind of felt like I was hyping myself up going into the second arc, but it didn't really do... It didn't do enough. Like, it had a story to get into, but at the same time, I wasn't really fulfilled by it. I, in the end, just enjoyed that first arc. Just the Sandland segment. Again, Beelzebub, the sheriff, thief, just traveling, taking down the big bad king. Everything else beyond that wasn't really that interesting. In the end, it's a good ride. Yes, it is a CGI show. It has a very... they really did a fantastic job of capturing Akira Toriyama's aesthetic. His character designs are very unique, and I think they really did pull off just capturing his style. The CGI itself, with the cel-shaded look to it, was really fantastic. It still has that ongoing issue where every now and then a character shows up that they don't want to put effort into making a model, and they'll be completely flat 2D. That kind of just creeps its head up every now and then. Or even if it's like a situation where a character has to do a very unique animation, and they don't want to make the CGI model pull off that animation, they'll just randomly turn into 2D. But that's kind of a very rare thing. For the most part, it looked really good. A lot of the fight scenes were really cool. Like I still remember this moment. There was one scene where Sheriff Rao was in a tank, and Beelzebub was calling out to him from on top of this peak, and they had this whole like fight sequence between Sheriff Rao and I think it was General Ra's squad coming in there to try to take him down. It was a really cool little like tankery segment, almost like very much so like Girls on Panzer, kind of that kind of stuff, where they get very strategic with the fight sequence with the tanks. So there's a lot of really cool fights in this series. What I was more shocked by is that it wasn't as Dragon Ball as I thought the fights would be, because I thought having Beelzebub, who is just very like, the demons in this world are super OP. Beelzebub himself is like pretty darn OP, and it didn't really have many fight sequences. Like, this show was not focused on having Beelzebub fight somebody. This isn't Dragon Ball in the regard of having... Now, granted, the original Dragon Ball wasn't really that big.
What,
it was more
he
like
didn't
Dragon
go
Ball
into
Z.
Kaioken?
Yeah, it's not like Dragon Ball Z, where like 5 episodes is basically Beelzebub powering up and fighting Frieza.
Never mind. I'm not watching it.
They had a Frieza character that was General Zhu. He was like this dude that was literally in the same thing like Frieza had, that little pod, as General Zhu. And I'm like, that's Frieza, dude. Why do they have a Frieza character? We have Goku who's Beelzebub. We have General Zhu is basically Frieza. There was one other one that I thought about that I forgot, but
Piccolo?
no, I don't.
You didn't have a
they didn't
Piccolo?
have a Piccolo character, no.
No Piccolo?
No. There was one other one, I forget what it was, but yeah, there's
How about King Kai?
There's
Is there a
obvious
King Kai at least?
No, there's obvious references there, but I enjoyed it. I'm not going to oversell it. I do acknowledge that a lot of my love of this show was really just nostalgia, and I admit that by the time I finished, was
there at least a Mr. Satan?
Yeah, probably Swimmer.
Okay.
Probably Swimmer. There was this one
that
like
was important.
there was this one
How about
band.
Vidal?
They had like this whole story about the big disaster and everything, and the fact that the entire Sandland is devoid of water. And there was like this one guy who was Swimmer, and he had his 2 or 3 sons. I think it was 2 or 3 sons. I forget. There was one big chunky son. There was the fast running son, and I think there was another son. And they just spend all day trying to find water. And yeah, but it's not like Satan where he like saved the world and gets all the credit or anything like that. He's just goofy. Just goofy. I guess he's not really Satan. Satan's very specific. Anyways, it's very nostalgia built for me. I enjoyed, like I said, that first arc. It took me a long time. Like, I spent probably months before I finally finished the last like 4 episodes. And that was because I was kind of falling off on it. I think that second arc didn't quite have the same nostalgic feels I had with that first arc. But I will admit that by the time I finished the show, there was a side of me that was kind of emotional, because it kind of feels like this was like the last of Akira Toriyama anime I'll probably ever watch. Because like, yeah. I mean, what else is there? I mean, because like most of everything else, like Dragon Ball related and Super, has pretty much been adapted, I think. I think they still have a little bit more of Super to do. And he was technically involved with the whole new Dragon Ball that's coming out here soon. But I don't know. There was a side of me that feels like this is it. Like, this is probably the last pure this was Akira Toriyama. Anything else is probably going to be like a big question mark if how much he was involved with. So there was a side of me that when I finished the last episode, I kind of felt a little emotional. Kind of got a little misty-eyed. Rest in peace, Akira Toriyama. It was a good send-off in that regard. I love the last episode, though. I don't want to spoil things, but like just it felt like things wrapped up really well. It put a smile on my face the way it wrapped up. So that's Sandland, the series. I just kind of just recommend it if you're a big Akira Toriyama fan. If you're not, give it a first few episodes a shot. I think you'll know within the first few episodes if it's something that's going to work for you. It's got a different feel. Like his stuff is just a different feel. He's always had a different feel with his stuff. It's always kind of like this, never take itself too seriously. It's just kind of very zany fun. It's even though there's a lot of like things at stake, it never feels like it's all about revenge. There's always a message in there. They're about revenge begetting revenge, the mistakes that you make and trying to own up to your mistakes. There's a lot of positive messages that he kind of digs into there with, and it very rarely gets very violent. It seems like he does have this nature of wanting to kind of avoid that kind of stuff. It's like a positive message behind it. So even though his Dragon Ball series constantly has Goku trying to destroy the entire universe because he wants to fight somebody. Kira Toriyama. Anyways, that's Sandland the series. That's it, I think, right? I think that's it, Chris. We finally finished all of our reviews for the spring season. If we missed anything, it's because I either dropped it, I don't want to talk about it, or Chris dropped it and doesn't want to talk about it.
Pretty much.
If your show is not listed, we don't like it. Like Newgate, I didn't finish it. Didn't care for it. Say Your Radio, I wanted to finish, but I never did. Viral Hit, I wanted to finish, but no, I didn't want to finish it. I didn't like that show.
I wasn't going to touch it with a 10-foot pole, so.
10 foot? I went for 12 foot. I keep debating, but I think I'm pretty sure I covered Grim Variations in our first impressions. But yeah, excited for the next season, Chris. Have you started anything for the next season yet?
I have started Russia Girl.
Oh, you had to. There ain't no way you're not going to start the Russian waifu. Alya must be started. If you didn't, you probably started 2.5 Seduction too, didn't you?
Not yet. That is probably, might try to see if I can watch it tonight. But you messed me up. The robot wife.
Oh yeah, he had to watch his Chobits. How'd you like Chobits?
Well, I have to find out if if you're right and this girl is going to dethrone Chi. If I do not have an entire episode of her walking around saying "Pantsu," she's not dethroning my Chi. But she is pretty freaking cute.
Unless she Google searches how to help him with a problem, and somehow that Google search comes up with the clip of the Pantsu scene with Chobits. She not doing that, because it'd be literally like he goes, "Man, we might need to buy some underwear. I wonder if a robot can go out and buy underwear." She's gonna go search a robot finding underwear, and it brings up a clip of Chobits with that Chi scene, and then she starts crawling around in somebody's backyard and has Pantsu on her head, chasing after a cat. Wasn't she chasing after a cat or something like that? Because the cat had it
like that.
Yeah, it was goofy. Anyway, is that it? That's the only one you watched so far? I haven't watched much either. I'm pretty much trying to. This week I was focused, even though I know that the new shows were popping up on my list, and I was going crazy. It was going crazy. It was going crazy.
I went ahead and stayed strong. I had to finish my Mushoku, and I had to finish Day Live, and I looked at the time, and I was like, okay, all I've got is Monday. There's no way I'm going to watch a whole nother show. So, yeah, I just went ahead and just caught a couple of quick shows. Like
Oshinoko?
I need to go over there.
Oh, I didn't get that one yet. Oh. Yeah, so far all I've done, because I've been trying to pace myself, because I obviously I have to do first impressions of them, so I'm kind of like, I'm chilling, but at the same time, I know that I can really quickly get behind doing my first impressions, right. So I'm kind of getting scared at this point already. But like, I've done Oshinoko, Alya, on Thursday I did... What did I do on Thursday? There was something big on Thursday. I don't know what I did on Thursday. Huh. Anyways.
Thursday was the 4th.
Right, but I'm trying to remember what I did on that day for shows. I did do 2.5 Dimensional on Friday, that's for sure. Did Monogatari, that's obviously was a big one. Did you get that one yet?
No, not yet.
Oh, so good. I watched that episode.
I clicked on it for a second.
Thank you. Shaft is back, Chris. Monogatari, they did it. I was so freaking happy that actually turned out good. I was deathly afraid it wasn't going to be Monogatari. It's like, nope. Team's back. Show's back.
I clicked on it and seen it, and I was like, oh, yeah, I gotta wait on this.
It was epic. It was epic. Epic return. Yeah, Elusive Samurai I heard was really good. Sakuna I heard was really good. Wistoria I heard some good things about. It's just already building up really bad. Then we have Authority next season or next Saturday. Dear friend, watch that one. That one was. The first half was really good. The second half had me a little worried about that show overall.
Pseudo Harem looks as bad as we thought it was going to look.
It looks bad? You didn't like it? I heard some people say it was good. That's weird.
I only got through a portion of it, but
Visually
I got
looks
through,
bad or just not a good show?
I didn't like the visuals.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing I was not happy about with even the PV. And if the PV itself wasn't looking good. Of course, there's another show this season that's not looking too good.
I don't know if it's just the artwork direction, but I don't like it. I don't like the way it looks.
I want to say for me, for the PV anyways, with the art style not being consistent, it was kind of making me believe that was probably a, I don't know, a key artist issue or something. Or maybe a change in staff at some point.
Now I'm gonna go back and try to watch it again. But what I seen of it, I did not like.
Well, that will be for our first impressions, which I don't know. We'll probably have to start here soon because how many damn shows there are. I don't know. We'll probably take a break and talk about some news bits because we had AX and stuff go on. There's some stuff that I want to get Chris's opinion on, like Crunchyroll shutting down comment sections. But anyways, that's for then. We hope you guys enjoyed these reviews of the spring 2024 anime season. You'll join us for the summer 2024 anime season. Again, talkspirit.com. That's where all of our links are. Social media links, ways to get a hold of us, ways to support us. Greatly appreciate what it does. And until next time, you'll take care.
Os.